Good afternoon, fellow ruminators. Welcome back to another live session. And it's an opportunity again to be here on another live program. We haven't had a live for some times, so I welcome one and all to our special live this afternoon. So thank you so much for joining. And this afternoon, we are looking at a potentially historic moment in global politics. Reports and intense speculation are circulating around about the coalition and possible death of, well, he has died. We know that he has now died, the death of Iran's supreme leader, the Ayatollah. If confirmed, which it has been confirmed, this represents one of the most significant political developments in the Middle East in decades. For more than 30 years, the supreme leader has been the central authority in the Islamic Republic of Iran, shaping the country's political direction, its military posture, and its relationship with the West. But the question many analysts are now asking is this: what happens if that leadership suddenly disappears? Would the Islamic Republic continue as it is? Could there be a power struggle inside Iran's political and religious establishment? Or might this open the door to deeper instability in a region that is under enormous pressure? Iran is not just another country in the Middle East, it is a major regional power with influence across Iraq, Lebanon, Syria, and beyond. Any major change at the top of Iran's leadership could have profound consequences for global energy markets, regional conflicts, and the balance of power between the United States, Israel, and the wider Islamic world. So, this afternoon, we're going to examine a critical question. Now that the Ayatollah is dead, and we're seeing now a new formation of a new Islamic state emerging amidst the uncertainty, what should we expect next? And this afternoon, we are going to be joined by Mr. Perreira to help us to unpack these issues. So I hope that Mr. Perreira is going to be here very shortly, and we will begin the discussion. Yes, we have here, let us look at some of the greetings to you, SCM, and that Iran will never be weak. The Shia of Iman ally are too strong. Yes, and that might be the case. And we have here KS. Iran is the last bit of luck the world has. The real terrorists are the Zionist American scums. Yes, so we hope that they will be able to stand strong because, as you're saying, that we need people to stand up. And in recent times, we're seeing where many people are not standing up, right? We see that, recently President Trump went to Venezuela and he kidnapped the president of Venezuela and his wife, Celia Flores, and we don't know what is happening there at the moment. So we need people, we need nation states who are able to stand up and be counted. Mr. Pereira is going to be joining us shortly. Now, the world realizes the fuel is going up and oil is going up. UK and America are nothing without the Middle East industrial, that's natural resources, just like they bleed Africa dry. Absolutely. So that is what we're seeing now. Mr. Pereira is going to be joining us shortly. Now, we're living in some dangerous times and we've got to get our acts together because we know that this is something that is not going to end anytime soon. Now, I saw this on TikTok and I thought I would share it with you. So let me open up now and see if we could. Let me get Mr. Pereira. Mr. Pereira is here. Let me have Mr. Pereira join the stage. Good afternoon, Mr. Pereira. Good evening.
Good evening, my brother. How are you?
Yes, thank you so much for joining. And we know that you have a lot to share with us this afternoon. Lots of things are happening in the world, not just in the region, but in the entire world. And one would not have expected that so many things would have happened in such a short time since we have met Mr. Pereira. So what do you have to say? Let's begin with what is on your mind. I don't have to control what you have to say. So let's go ahead with you.
First of all, my brother, thanks for having me. I just want to say this to your viewers, to the listeners.
Yes.
First of all, do not listen to the narrative that is coming out of the West, out of the White House, out of the Trump fascist regime, their spokespersons. I think I did mention to you some time ago that an American theologian pointed out, she said that the Anglo-Saxon people, she was speaking about being specific about the white race, this Anglo-Saxon people. She said they were able to dominate the world by utilization of the 3 Ds.
Yes.
Deception, which is then followed by destruction, and then domination. We're seeing it. It's nothing new. They are deceivers. So I am just urging the audience not to listen to what is coming out.
Yes.
It is. We have all the evidence that even the Omani foreign minister said it, that while they were having these talks, the Iranian government agreed on many things. But
yes.
Of course, yes, it's coming out. But the United States and Israel had their own agenda.
Correct.
They were using this so-called diplomacy to deceive the Iranians, but the Iranians were prepared. And the thing about it is, I remember Minister Farrakhan said many moons ago, he said, do not try to reason with the beast. The beasts don't have the ability to reason. And the beast initiates violence. And as Frantz Fanon said, that type of violence must be met with revolutionary violence or the violence of the oppressed.
Yes.
I make no apologies. I'm not a commentator, just a commentator. I am an activist. My whole life has been political activism. And what we are seeing is the farce of this con called liberal democracy has collapsed. And we're seeing the empire and others, the West European countries, and by extension, Canada and all them for what they are.
Yes.
Yes. Listen to what the Canadian Prime Minister said. He said that speaking about them, that we went along with this rules-based order, knowing it was a lie. They knew it was okay for them, but now the boomerang, now it's at them. The chickens are coming home to roost. They don't like it, but it was okay when this lie, this colossal lie, this huge con called liberal democracy was imposed on us and all of this. Trump said there is no, Trump disregard, no international law. Good. So what we are seeing now is the Dunroe Doctrine, which is an extension of the Monroe Doctrine, because the Monroe Doctrine was about what is in their so-called backyard. So they've gone beyond the so-called backyard into the global arena.
Yes.
Right? They moved from Venezuela in their so-called backyard. They've gone to Iran. He wants to take over Greenland. He's threatening other countries. He even told the Prime Minister of Spain said that Spain, the socialist Prime Minister, that Spain will not be used as a launching pad for any acts of aggression against any country, including Iran. And the Prime Minister of Spain condemned the illegal, unwarranted, unprovoked attack against Iran. And you know what Trump said? Trump said, don't bother with Spain. We will put tariffs on them. And furthermore, if we want to use that country, the bases there, we can go in and take it.
Yes.
That is what he said. Now, you tell me, is that a difference? Adolf Hitler didn't behave like that. This is worse. Iran just elected the Guardian, the Council of Guardians just elected a new supreme leader, the spiritual leader. He's not the leader, the political leader. That's the president. See, they don't understand.
Yes.
See, these people are intellectual midgets. I wouldn't even say that. You listen to Trump. You listen to Trump and then Hexet. Sorry, apologies in the program. They're calling him here Pete Hawk shit instead of Hexet.
Yeah.
He said, there it is. Trump, the reporters asked Trump, about the 100 the school that was bombed, where more than 168
girls died. Yes.
were killed.
Mm-hmm.
And Trump, in a very don't care mood, he said the Iranians did it. He said they did it. The Iranians bomb. He said, they're not accurate. You imagine that? He said the Iranians are very accurate because they're hitting their targets.
Yeah.
They have them wondering, yes, they're really hitting the bastards.
Mm-hmm.
And he said that. And when the reporter turned to Pete Hegseth, he said, listen, he didn't say we know it's Iranians. He said we are investigating it.
Wow.
That's what he said in front of Trump. Trump
Yes.
said it's Iranians. Then Hegseth said we're investigating it.
Yes.
Look at what the world is facing today. Look at what we're dealing with. And I say big up to the resistance led by Iran, the Houthis, Hezbollah, and those. Because for every missile they fire, for every Zionist plane that they take down, they're doing that for all of us, for the oppressed people of Haiti, for what they did to Morris Bishop, for what they're doing to Cuba, for what they did to Iraq, for what they did in Somalia, for what they did to Afghanistan, to Vietnam, to Syria, and to Libya. And to Libya.
Yes. Now, Mr. Perreira, now that you have spoken about what the United States' position is, we all know what the United States' position is, that they've always wanted full spectrum dominance. In fact, after World War II, when we talk about this rules-based order, I critiqued Mr. Bruce Golding's comment from Jamaica, who was, sort of lamenting the fact that this rules-based order is now fragmented and perhaps has been dismantled. Now, I want to question, what was this rule-based order? Because this rule-based order was set by the United States. And the United States has always, and it set all the laws in its own interest, not in the interest of any of the countries. So we should have known that from a long time ago. The problem is that Trump has decided that he is now unmasking the mask of that rules-based order. Now, let's look at the region. Our response to what is happening, what happened in Venezuela first, and then our response to what is happening in Cuba and also in Iran. What would you say? Where are we? Where do we stand? Guyana, Trinidad, Jamaica, Barbados. Where are we standing? What is our point?
Well, what we are witnessing, this is open recolonization.
Yes.
It's open. Yes. If we cannot see that, then something is radically wrong with our minds.
Yes.
If you listen to what is coming out of the White House, I mean, imagine in Iran, as I said, the Council of Elders just elected a new supreme leader.
Yes.
And Trump said he's unacceptable. Because Trump is the emperor. Trump is the emperor. And the emperor is going to decide things. Like the emperor invited two of all the CARICOM countries. The emperor invited two so-called the so-called president of Guyana and the prime minister of Trinidad.
Yes,
who are nothing but overseers.
Yes,
on the Neo plantation. And he said to the president, he said, "Oh, the president of Guyana is doing a good job." Well, yeah. Well, when a demon can praise someone, you got a serious question. The thing is, you went into Venezuela, you bombed the place, kidnapped a sitting president, abducted him and his wife, and you took them back to the
United States
headquarters of the empire, yes, to judge them under your laws.
Correct.
And Trump, at the same time, he actually said, to hell with the ICJ, to hell with the ICC, the International Criminal Court. America is not a signatory to the court.
Yes.
And even his Supreme Court, when the judges ruled on the decisions in relation to tariffs, he said it's a disgrace.
Yes.
Is what he said about the judge. So what we are seeing, this is naked fascism. This is downright bullyism. And the Caribbean leaders are really intimidated. This man is intimidated.
Yes. But they don't have a choice, because when you see what happened in Venezuela, that has a stronger military, that is more organized than ours, and the United States could have gone there and kidnapped the president, what would he do to our prime ministers in
Well,
the region?
you know, the Venezuelan situation is very complex, very
It is.
complicated.
It is
And
complicated.
yeah, and I believe not too long from now, President Rodriguez will have to
Mm-hmm.
take certain positions, because I think what the Venezuelans did was to make what Lenin would refer to as a step backward in order to make two steps forward. I think Trump realized that he couldn't go in there, put 22,000 troops in a country with so much people and all that rough terrain and everything and all of that. But the power base is intact. There is I believe, from what I'm picking up, the Bolivarian communal councils and the Tupamaras and other groups and the people, the armed militias, they're having their say. And one way or the other, Trump will be forced to. I don't think the Venezuelan conflict is over. I think they're going to play him out. And knowing him, he might want to go back to bomb Venezuela again.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
But
mm-hmm.
it's not over. Something is not right. And Trump thinks he's in control, but he's not in control.
Well,
But I agree with you. See, we've never mobilized our people in the region.
Yes.
We only, the problem, this is one of the weaknesses of electoral politics. You only bring people out for public meetings when it's election times, but there is we don't have permanent mobilization of the people. You know, raising the people's levels of consciousness through political education and getting people to be involved in organs that rest outside the state and the political parties, where the people can be involved, people can have a say in the community levels, can have a say in the decisions that impact their lives. People should be involved in the discussions. But no, the people are alienated from the political process, and it has failed us. So when the time comes to stand up to the bullies, to the Caligula in the White House, this is where we find ourselves. Now, Iran is a different kettle of fish, they will say. Iran is 90 million people.
So, yes, but let's go back to Venezuela, Mr. Pereira.
Yes.
I'm not sure in your reading if you have read. These are speculations. These are allegations. Nobody can confirm them. Whether or not, because you have high diplomats in Latin America from Colombia, and these are left-wing diplomats who have been saying that what they saw in Venezuela was not real. And they think that somehow Delcy Rodriguez was involved in the plot to have Nicolas Maduro be removed from office. And I say this because there are number of reports suggesting that she was already the previous year, liaising with Qatar to have him replaced and for her to become the president, for her to replace him as the president of Venezuela. What we're seeing Trump doing now is sort of, if that is true, is grabbing from that playbook in which he does not have to use a lot of military force in these countries. What he does now, he sends his intelligence agencies to invade, if you will, and to have the people who should be on your side turn them against you, betray you into his trust, and then that is how he's able to conquer. So this is a new approach that we're seeing from the United States, and you have alleged to it. You said that what Trump did, he always says he wants to negotiate, and while he's negotiating, he's actually plotting and planning. Let me hear from what.
Well, they've learned well from this. You can see this is the tactics that the Mossad uses. That's how the Mossad operates.
Yes.
But yes, I've heard that claim, that allegation that that was made against Delcy Rodriguez. But I won't fool you. I'm not getting a lot of what even from some of the activists was coming out. But I honestly believe that not long from now, based on what is happening in Venezuela, there's going to be a showdown. I think it's either, Delcy Rodriguez did issue a statement. I
Mm-hmm.
think in relation to I'm not sure, but I think it's in relation to Iran's attack on Qatar
Mm-hmm.
and the Gulf state. And the grassroots organizations, other organizations, the base, the mass base, the Chavistas were annoyed,
Mm-hmm.
and they call upon her to pull back, withdraw that
That
statement.
comment. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, and we heard nothing more. So whether she went along with them, whether she is an agent or what, the way things are heading, that will eventually come out. But I do know this, that the US is not in control of things in Venezuela. Definitely not.
Mm-hmm. What proof would you have to say that they're not? Because the other day they reported that he's now getting how many whatever of gold, and the oil is within his hands. In fact, on the Washington Post and all these papers are reporting that he's sending the oil profits to the Middle East. He's not even sending it to the United States, where it should be where they would have some form of oversight. He's
That's
actually
right.
sending it to private entities. So it means, therefore, that Venezuela is a technocracy of the United States as far as
Yeah. Well, I think I don't disagree with you, but I will give them the benefit of the doubt in terms of this.
Mm-hmm.
Their economy was badly damaged. They
Mm-hmm.
need to get certain things kickstart.
Yes.
And I listened to one Venezuelan, a Chavista,
Yes.
who is an academic, and we
Mm-hmm.
said that. I pointed that out some time ago, that they're doing like what, when in Russia at the time,
Yes.
when the Bolshevik Revolution was really on the siege and things
Mm-hmm.
were bad, the Bolsheviks led by Lenin made a retreat. They brought in what was called the new economic policy, or what they call war communism. And they made tremendous concessions to the kulaks, the big
Mm-hmm.
landowners, and to all of that. They had to do it.
Mm-hmm.
They had to do it. And Lenin wrote about it. He said one step backward in order to make two forward. And
Mm-hmm.
they did that, and they survived. And look at what happened. The Soviet Union took off. And so I am not trying to say, this is not a mechanistic or mechanical reading of that.
Mm-hmm.
What happened in Russia is this. But what I'm saying is, I don't think she has actual control. I think there's the armed forces are loyal to the Constitution, and as well as the Bolivarian Revolution. And I think the grassroots organizations are armed. You have groups that are independent of the ruling party. They support, like the Tupamaros. The Tupamaros are the ones who you see riding around on motorcycles, two on a motorcycle, heavily armed.
Mm-hmm.
They do work in the communities, and they number in the thousands. So, and they know what's going on. They're solid anti-imperialist formation. So I don't think that Trump, one way or the other, this Venezuelan thing is going to unravel. It's going to blow out. What we are seeing is just the surface, but below that, pressure is being put on her. So she's caught between a rock and a hard place. It's either she stand up, and I think with what is happening now in terms of the war in the Middle East, Trump has moved a lot of his military hardware. And so look what they did. They shifted a lot of the Patriots missile system they've cannibalized it that were meant to protect South Korea, and they've moved it. So what about if North Korea decide to launch an attack now? What if the US aircraft carrier is going to sail back there? They're overstretched. And I think what we're witnessing is Che Guevara statement that he made a long time ago to the Tricontinental meeting, when he said that we have to create 1, 2, 3 many Vietnams for the empire. And you're going to see that they will not be able to fight on so many fronts. They're going to exhaust themselves, and they're actually on the verge. They send so much weaponry to Ukraine, and they give Israel so much, that they don't have. So America is not prepared. But moving from looking at the Venezuela situation, I believe that definitely they're not in control. I think Venezuela's playing them, and I think we're going to witness that. We're going to be proven right.
Yes, I hear people harping back to the Vietnam War, and I often have to correct them by saying that the United States foreign elites did not want the war to end. They were quite fine with the war. The American citizens who understood the horrific events that unfolded in Vietnam that put pressure on the government to end it. And
Yes,
that is because wars are profitable and wars are beneficial to the ruling elites. They want
that's right.
wars, and that is
That's
what we
right.
have to understand.
And
There,
that's why you have the permanent, America's a permanent war economy. Books are
absolutely.
moving on this. Yes.
Absolutely. So we have to look now at what interests do we have in these wars? Or are we seeing the unfolding of wars among the elites fighting over who is going to control the world? Because it is really a little bit bizarre that you would have the United States wanting to go into Venezuela. Venezuela has special relation or had special relations with Iran, with Russia, with China, and they didn't come to the aid in helping Trump from helping Venezuela from not being invaded. The
Yes.
same thing for Iran now. You would expect that the other powers, the other global powers, would have come to the aid of Iran to prevent, to ward off the United States. But what we're seeing is just confusing, and people don't know how to unpack this complicated war efforts. I don't know. I must say, I try to do the best I can. But go ahead,
Yeah.
Mr.
I this what started in Venezuela. You know, Trump Trump is the man, of course. Trump sees the world, he's transactional, and he sees the world as real estate.
Yes, he does.
They started in Venezuela so they can secure the oil. Then they went after Iran. But
Mhm.
you know what's their objective? And there's a
Yes,
man who predicted this there's an Indian scholar by the name of P.R. Sarkar.
yes.
And he founded this, what is called the PROUT, P-R-O-U-T, the Progressive Utilization Theory. And one of his disciples wrote a book called The End of Communism and Capitalism,
Hmm.
Ravi Batra. When
Hmm.
Batra tried to publish that book, the Soviet bloc was alive and well. And nobody wanted to publish it because he predicted
Yes,
the collapse of the communist bloc would be around 19 something, 2000 something or so.
yes,
And when the communist bloc collapsed, everybody was seeking Batra to interview him,
yes.
right? And he said that the collapse of global capitalism will come somewhere in the 20s, late 30s, in the
Mm,
30s.
mm.
And he said that the big war that is going to come on the planet is not really what we're witnessing in the Middle East,
Hmm.
but it's going to be the war between the US and China.
Mm.
And this is where it's headed.
Hmm.
Trump, the only reason Trump wanted to settle the hostility, the war with Russia and Ukraine, is so he can focus on China,
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
that is what it is about. And the Chinese are aware of this. Now, I don't know, but I see they're accusing the Chinese and the Russians of providing intelligence to the
Hmm.
Iranians. If
Hmm.
that is so, it's good. I don't think, it's too early. I don't think China or Russia is just going to allow them to destroy Iran and get away with it for a number of reasons. One, and that is why, if you notice, even the Taliban said
Hmm.
that they will fight alongside Iran.
Hmm.
Because if Iran collapse, then Trump agenda is to balkanize Iran
Hmm.
into Kurdistan here and all these minorities and all of that, take control of the oil. And of course, you'll be
Yeah.
threatening, strangling China and getting to Russia right up
Yes.
in here. So Russia and China is aware of this.
Hmm.
So I don't think for another week, I don't think they'll be able to sustain this. I think it's going to get more nasty. And I think that their Gulf allies, or what they call their vassals, are putting pressure on them because The UAE right now is facing, they're going to run out of food. The supermarkets, they're in problems. And look at Bahrain. For every missile that hits Bahrain, the population, the people are cheering because the majority of people in Bahrain are Shia Muslims.
Mm-hmm.
And the ruling elite that happens to be Sunni, though I don't want to put it as a Sunni Shia thing, but although some people are playing that, they are going to collapse. The ruling class in Bahrain are going to flee. I don't think they're going to be around for long, for 2 more weeks. One.
Right.
They're going to collapse. And I think the Gulf states, right? Because you got to remember, you see, the Americans don't understand. They can never understand these people. They don't understand. They think Qatar will never forget that Israel bombed them and kill Qatari citizens. So Iran is playing the game. Iran said, look, we don't really want to bomb you. Just get rid of the U.S. bases. Get the U.S. out, and you will be spared. Fair enough. You know? So pressure's being applied on them. Their own people are saying, I saw a UAE billionaire in Saudi Arabia saying, who's Trump? To take us through, to just do what he did to Iran and put us in this situation. So there is rebellion in the ranks. And, you know, these guys, I don't think they understand. Iran is not Venezuela. Iran is not Iraq or Libya. You know, you're dealing with 90 million people, and you have to understand, this is where, and a number of commentators been pointing that out to them. I'll tell you, my brother, I have been, long before the internet and mobile phones, in the early 80s, I was receiving magazines. There was a Guyanese brother who visited Iran, and these magazines used to be, they would send these magazines to him. So one of the magazines was called Imam. And I was reading deeply about the Iranian society and the revolution. And many of my books here, I have some of the leading Iranian scholars. And the Iranian tradition, the Iranians are a very proud and dignified people.
They are.
The West don't really understand tradition, the Shia tradition, the Shia Islamic tradition, which is different to the Sunni tradition. There are an estimated 230 to 300 million Shia Muslims. Majority being, of course, in Iran, Iraq, Pakistan, Azerbaijan, and in areas like Lebanon, and so you have seen the hundreds and thousands who are marching. You know, I show you how stupid Trump and those around him in the White House are. You don't go and kill the spiritual leader of 300 million Shia Muslims. It's like we said, it's like killing the Pope or killing the Archbishop of Canterbury. The Pope is there to Catholics, and the Archbishop of Canterbury is the spiritual head of the Anglican Church.
Yeah.
You know, so you're going to earn the wrath of Catholics and Anglicans. But they don't understand that. And in Shia Islam, martyrdom is something that people yearn for. They want to be martyrs. And this is inspired by the Battle of Karbala, which took place around, I think it was on the 10th October, 680. It was a battle led by Imam Hussein, who was a grandson of the Prophet, peace be upon him, was a grandson of the Prophet. And he refused to bow to the rulership of an oppressor by the name of Yazid. Yazid was imposed. His father picked him as his successor. His father was Muawiyah, governor. And you can understand what happened, because I told you some time ago, you know, every great movement was change. In the initial stages, those in the status quo, be they in the political establishment or in the religious, the ecclesiastical authorities, they always persecute the followers of the movement and the leaders in the beginning. When the movement, we saw this with Christianity, we saw it with Islam. As the movement picks up and gains momentum and so on, the followers start to come in the hundreds of thousands, the persecutors change the tactics and strategy. So they decide that the best thing to do is to co-opt it or to join it. You understand? So you go within it, and then you try to hijack the message.
Right.
And to steer it into that. So the Battle of Karbala, they've just the Prophet grandson with 500 followers, including his family, were slaughtered. So Karbala is an inspiration. So the Iranians will never submit to the great Satan, as Ayatollah Khomeini called. They will never submit. They rather martyrdom. We've seen it with Hezbollah. We've seen it with the Houthis. Unlike the cowards, and this is not hitting on the Sunnis, unlike the cowards in Egypt, the ruling class, in the elites in Egypt and all those countries that they've not lifted a finger against the Zionist entity. Look at Syria today. Look at Syria. The man who's running Syria was wanted. They had a bounty on him. But nobody, Trump didn't put a drone to kill him. You killed General Qasem Soleimani and Al-Mahdi al-Muhandes, the leader of the Popular Mobilization Brigade and of Kitab Hezbollah, which is an Iraqi group.
Yes.
The people who took the fight to ISIS, you killed them. But the ones who were part of ISIS, you put on a suit and said, he's doing a good job down there. And now we have concrete evidence, but people like us are not surprised, that they are arming remnants of ISIS in the fight against Iran.
Yes. They always do that.
Did you find it strange that the amount of ISIS prisoners that got away from that camp? How did they escape?
And that is the point I want to make, Mr. Perreira. When we think about the United States, so often we think about it as a country, and it is a country. But the fact is, because it's an empire, it's a global one also, it enlists the support of other people. Like we're seeing Mrs. Kamala Person-Bissessar is on board, Dr. Irfan Lee is on board, and lots of other people, including in the Middle East and around the world, and Europe are helping her to fight. Not because they want to fight, but because they don't want to receive the angst of the United States. So they're forced to do what the United States tells them to do, or sanctions, or you're going to be removed, or whatever. How do we look at Iran? Iran is only one country, and I'm sure they're going to fight until death, and we should respect them for doing that. But how possible is for them to fight against the world? Because that's what they're really doing, is in essence, because the United States is using the world against one country. How would you respond?
Brother, before I get there, I just want to say this to you. Someone once said to me and some activists from our organization that you will never get power. That's what they said to us. We will never, because of our principled position and so. So my reply was, you don't know what is power.
Right.
Because you are in office, and at the end of the day, the Americans will dictate to you.
Yes.
There's a big difference between having power and being in office. They're not the same.
It's the same thing.
and Pilate, you remember? Pilate thought that he had power.
Yes.
Jesus told him, Jesus demonstrated what is real power.
Yes.
So he was just a little vassal factotum of Caesar.
He was.
He thought he had power.
Yeah.
But Jesus reminded him what is real power. I have the power to lay down my life and to take it up. That's power. That's real power. So these little plantation overseers who think that they're in office and they have power, they don't. If I was the prime minister of any country and Trump and Rubio came to me and bullied me and telling me what to do, I will go to the people and tell them exactly what is happening. But they don't do this. They're being bullied. Rubio came into Guyana and told the president, get rid of the Cuban Medical Brigade. What I'm saying is they don't tell the people. Now, if I was in that position, I would step down.
Yes.
If I can't mobilize my people to stand up to the bully, then I will step down. I don't want to be in office for the sake of office.
Yes. Yes.
Good?
Yes.
But getting back to Iran, the Iranians, as I said, this is going to drag out. The Americans, Trump and Israel made a big mistake because this is going to spill over. Also, look at the hundreds of thousands, millions in the streets. I'm not talking about those who are coming out carrying pictures of Ayatollah Khamenei and so on, and in support of Iran, the millions. But look in the Western capitals, the demonstrations in front of the U.S. Embassy. And I did say that there are those, you will get lone wolves out there, there are people who are going to attack U.S. embassies. Because you cannot, Malcolm X spoke about that. The chickens coming home to roost.
Yeah.
You cannot go out and bomb a school and kill 160-something children. Now, a father sitting there, he lost his, it happened in Lebanon. But one father went to the marketplace on his going back home, returning home, he saw the huge cloud of smoke. When he got there, the entire area bombed. He lost his wife, his children, his mother-in-law, everybody. So he says, look, what? I have nothing more to live for. So he puts a bomb around him, straps himself with a bomb, walks into a cafe with Israeli soldiers and detonates it.
Yeah.
Good?
But there are people, Mr. Perreira. We are speaking as humans because we are humans and we have human sentiments, human emotions. You're talking about people who are not humans and who relish the thought of bombing hundreds of thousands of people. It means nothing to them. In fact, Trump is on record of saying that, soldiers will die. In fact, he's saying U.S. citizens will die and they must be prepared to die. It doesn't mean anything to him.
My brother, I agree with you. Have you ever read this book by Chris Wilson called The Key to the Colors? Yeah. There is a specificity to the Anglo-Saxon peoples. You look at the people who have waged war. Even that is why if you listen to this, the foreign minister and the spokeswoman in Russia, the officials, they keep referring to the West as the Anglo-Saxons. They draw the line. The Anglo-Saxons. Because the Anglo-Saxons saw the Slavic people, the Russians and all of those people, the Slavs, as inferior. And that's where the word slave really come from, the Slav.
I know that. Yeah, I know that. Yeah.
They see those people as inferior. The Anglo-Saxon people, look how many interventions and wars the U.S. have fought, including interventions, 500. The Anglo-Saxon people, they are the people who are they are the quintessential warlords. And if there's a specificity to them, if you look at other civilizations, ancient civilizations like the Chinese civilization, Egyptian civilization, all those people, the African civilization spoke about, they had this dialogue of civilization. Okay? There was a great center established in Baghdad called the House of Wisdom. And African scholars would leave the mainland of Africa and go to Baghdad. And they had mathematicians from China and scholars from India and Egypt, and these men would converge in Baghdad because the caliph, the ruler, encouraged it. And they would discuss mathematics, philosophy, science, and came up with all these things that when the Moors, the Africans, the Moors who were Africans and Muslims went into Europe, they brought this knowledge. And it was the Moorish, the Islamic presence, the African presence in Europe that ignited the
Enlightenment. Yes.
Or else even Prince King, he was then Prince Philip. He was then Prince Charles, now King Charles. He said, had it not been for the Moorish presence, the Islamic presence in Europe,
Mm-hmm.
they would have remained in the Dark Ages for another 100 years.
Yes, and I'm happy you brought up that because we are not doing the same thing at the
No,
moment.
we are not.
We
So
we are
Trump,
fully on board in
yes,
African countries, in the Caribbean countries where most of our ancestors came from Africa. We are just on board with the
yeah,
Anglo-Saxon culture and what
yeah.
they're doing. So we're not different now. We might have been different back then, but
Then, yeah,
because of the power and the temptation for money and
that's
and
right.
elitism, we have lost our way. Now, how do we go back on that path? How do we get back on the path where we cared about humanity and not
Well,
just about power?
well, for years, we've always been there. Those of us, and we've produced many scholars and activists who have always been saying
Hmm.
we need to decolonize.
Yes.
Good. Many of us, what we obtained this flag and anthem independence. We got our own
Hmm.
flag, head of state, and what have you.
Hmm.
And that is it, our own anthem. But the plantation structure is still intact in terms of the production relations, the social relations is still intact.
Hmm.
You know,
Yes.
it's still there.
Hmm.
Our curriculum, our education system is still Eurocentric. It is
Yes.
still Eurocentric. We still evaluate everything, the world and everything through the eyes of the European. And that is
Hmm.
why you had people like the early Maleficenti, Asante, and others who developed what is called the Afrocentric theory.
Centric curriculum. Yeah. Uh-huh.
Africans need to consciously reposition ourselves and look at the world and interpret our reality and
Hmm.
define ourselves from our own perspective and not
Hmm.
allow others to do that for us.
Hmm.
And we are paying the price for that.
Hmm.
We need, because our leaders were too timid, the majority of them, to truly break with the colonizer.
Hmm.
Look at the Sahel countries. It took
Hmm.
Ibrahim Traore and the other leaders in Mali and Niger to say, here, we are going to achieve true independence.
Hmm.
We are going beyond that flag and anthem independence. Our currency, our resources are controlled by the French, and they kicked the French out.
Yes.
They kicked them out. So what the Caribbean nation states, we are little islets, little small countries, couldn't survive as whole. And we
Right.
keep talking about Caribbean unity and Caribbean unity.
There's
But
none.
CLR James pointed out many moons ago, we can't build Caribbean unity using what was imposed on us by the colonizer. We
Hmm.
have to find a new way of doing politics. We
Correct.
have to find a new way of reorganizing our economy.
Hmm.
We go to the polls every 5 years
Hmm.
to elect parties who will be the new overseer. But the masses are not involved in the process. And
Yeah.
if you look at the Caribbean, that the majority of the Caribbean countries, Jamaica, Guyana, Barbados, African populations, large
Mhm.
African population, with the exception of Trinidad,
And Guyana. Uh-huh.
Guyana, with
Yeah.
large Indian population. And
Yeah.
we have had black leaders,
Hmm.
black faces in high places, but it
Hmm.
did not translate to black empowerment. And that is
Absolutely.
why Kwame Ture said a long time ago that
Hmm.
black faces in high places does not necessarily translate to black power.
Yeah, but there is a phony sort of black curriculum that is in the system right now.
Correct.
You go to the black university in the United States. You see that it's a black theoretical framework. Yeah,
Howard, Young,
yeah,
yeah.
but there's no real activism, and
No,
they're also working for our colonial masters. When I
yes.
publish my videos, also I sense that sort of phony black curricula, have been transported to the Caribbean, and they
Yeah.
can just repeat some nonsense, and they don't really understand systems of power. So
Correct.
you find that if we need to understand in the Caribbean how power works, people still see the United States as this democratic society, and many Trinidadians now, they think that Mrs. Kamala Person be settled, and I'm sure in Ghana also the fact that Miss Dr. Irfan Ali, these prime ministers are siding with the United States, it means that it's going to make us secure Many people, so-called educated people, believe that. What would you say to them about that?
Well, first of all, I'm speaking as an African.
Yes.
And I'm seeing someone's a post here. Our colonial masters are taking us back to slavery. Definitely.
Yeah.
Before I get to Prasad Bisesa, listen to the speech that Marco Rubio delivered
At Munich. Yes.
To Munich.
Yes.
He said that the European colonizers made one of the big mistake they made was to decolonize. They should have kept us
under colonialism.
He said because that thing to decolonize was a communist conspiracy. That is what he said. And he actually told them in his words, look, you can interpret it. This is how you interpret it. We need a resurgence of white power resurgency. There must be a resurgence of white supremacy. And we in the United States cannot do it without our European partners. And you don't need to be timid. You don't have to apologize for colonial genocide and colonialism and the enslavement of Africa. It was liberating for them. It brought them to Western civilization. This is what they're saying.
But the only irony of it, Mr. Pereira, is that the United States also is treating Europe as a colony. They cannot do anything independently. And that is why they are cowering in fear. So they themselves are slaves now. By their former what you call it now, because the United States was a former colony of Great Britain. So, but the United States has now colonized the entire world, including Europe. What do you have to say about that?
Well, when you look at, there's a sort empires when they are faced with their demise. When they're going down, you see they become more irrational.
Yes, and dangerous.
Yes, and dangerous. And as you pointed out, they don't really care. Trump doesn't care if there's a destruction. And you know what? Kamala Bisesa and Orfanali, they are happy to go along with that. They are cowards. They are cowards, and they're just happy to be vassals of the empire. That is what they have bought into the lies of the empire, and it suits them. Good. It suits. The other thing about it is Pompeo. Pompeo said, addressing the Iranian people and by extension the world, he said, don't choose Ayatollah Iran, don't choose as your friend Iran or Russia or China. Choose Western civilization if you want a normal life.
Yes.
If you want a normal life.
Yes.
And that is to accept that the empire can plunder your gas, your natural resources, your minerals, to enslave you, and you go along with it.
Can Christianize you, can also Christianize you, because there is also another agenda to Christianize them.
And then you have what is sad. I'm seeing the thing with the Messiah coming to save us. I'll tell you this. What is really sad is the misuse and abuse of the scriptures to justify a racist, imperialistic, and fascist agenda.
Correct.
And the deepest part of hell is reserved for those preachers like Hagee, John Hagee, and others who are pushing that. Because first of all, the Jews hate Christians. The Jews never liked Jesus Christ. Go and read some of the things they said about Jesus. In Islam, Jesus is revered. His mother, Miriam, there's a whole chapter on Surah Al-Maryam, and Muslims believe in the divine birth of Jesus. Okay, they do. It's just that they do not believe that Jesus is God, but he's a prophet. Good, but they revere Jesus. The Jews do not respect Jesus. They do not see Jesus as the one who was sent to them. They do not. And the other thing about it is, these fools who call themselves Christians and are saying that the Messiah is coming. Well, the Shias believe that Jesus is going to return. Muslims believe that in the return of Jesus, and they also believe in the return. The Shia Muslims believe in the return of the Mahdi, as well as in the return of Jesus. But you see, they go out and they talk this. Those Christians, we have to remember that in South Africa, the Dutch Reformed Church that is rooted in Calvinist theology, right? That preaches what is called a predestination.
That's what Calvin preached.
Predetermined, the Calvinist theology. They justify slavery. The Boers went out saying that South Africa was given to them by God. So they went out there to Christianize and to civilize the savages.
Yeah, because that is what the Roman Catholic Church did, and many of the so-called
Protestants did it too.
Yeah, but that's the whole point. Many of the Protestants did not really change everything. They did not lay off the vestiges of Roman Catholicism because it was their cultural, and it was difficult for them to live. It's almost like my being Jamaican and going to immerse myself in the Spanish culture. Even though I'm immersing myself, but there are aspects of me that I cannot change.
That's right.
And, it's very difficult to really just to lay off those cultural dynamics.
That's right. You are right. Because you have an example. For example, you look at someone like Martin Luther,
correct,
who was a Catholic monk.
Yes, correct.
And the whole what he did, and he was one of the leaders of the Reformation.
Correct.
And of course, at that time, they had the Bavarian princess, the German princess, who they had political issues with Rome. So they say, hey, look, this is a former monk. We can support him. He's teaching something different. And they backed Luther. And that's how today in Germany, you see, like the Lutheran church is a very powerful church in Germany. But when they had the peasant wars in Germany, led by Thomas Munzer, who was also influenced by the Bible, the Gospels, Luther came out in support of the establishment and said that the peasants should know their station in life. They should remain. Yes, he came out. And he supported the whole thing about crushing the peasants. So you're right.
Yeah. And we also have people like the same W. Du Bois and the wonderful scholars who were very elitist also. Right? So even though he was speaking on behalf, speaking on behalf of Black people. And I want to respond to this. I think all Black leaders should come together and educate the masses on a way forward for future generations. It's not going to happen. And one of the things I want to say, we are not monolithic. I hate when people, you're Jamaican, so you have to behave this certain way. Or Guyanese, you have to behave. We're not a monolith. You see what I'm saying? We behave differently. We have different perspectives. Not everything a Jamaican does I want to do, and not everything I do another Jamaican wants to do. So to think that we're all Black and we're going to think the same way and we are going to act the same way, I think that is also racism. What do you say about that? Because all Black people were simple people and we behave the same way. We don't.
Well, I want to say this. Of course, I'll draw the line between racism and prejudice. Of course, racism is power plus prejudice,
Yes.
And African people don't have power to
be
racist and to oppress other people. And so we are in the receiving end. But I do agree with you that what is all Black leaders, because we'll have reactionary Black leaders, we'll have de factotums, we'll have those who will want to be vassals. And that is why we always say we need revolutionary Black leadership. Or in Pan-Africanism, we speak about revolutionary Pan-Africanism.
Correct.
Which is something qualitatively different. Because you can't find, for example, in Africa, every leader, even Mobutu, Gasha Buthelezi, who founded the Inkatha Freedom Party, that the Boers in South Africa used to give him weapons and money so he can attack the ANC. They're not going to be on our side. They would say that they're Pan-Africanists. Everybody will say that they're Pan-Africanists. But then when you look at what they were doing, their practice, they were working with the forces of white supremacy and imperialism.
Right.
Yeah, and many of them worked. Look at Mobutu. Mobutu worked with the Americans to kill Patrice Lumumba.
Yes. Yes.
You know,
And also
Korea worked with the Americans and the French to kill Thomas Sankara.
Yeah, Marcus Garvey in the States.
The same thing. And as you mentioned Dubai, you mentioned W.B. Dubai. W.B. Dubai was a brilliant mind, a great mind.
Brilliant.
But of course, he was elitist. Correct. I mean, you only had to look at his approach to Garvey.
Correct.
Who is this Garvey?
Yes.
You know?
And the talented 10th. Yeah.
Yes, the talented 10th. I'm the first black man to graduate from Harvard, right? Harvard.
Correct.
Yes. Who you, Marcus Garvey?
But not only the first PhD to graduate from a black person to graduate from Harvard. You know, so that was significant. That was significant.
Yes. But of course, he made his contribution. But these are the things we know.
Enormous contributions. But to say that even as, and I'm happy you said that, even among the Caribbean leaders, you know, whether the Eric Williams and the same one that wrote the Black Jacobins, what's his name?
Yes, C.L.R.
James. They weren't united too. After a while, even though I'm sure by heart they wanted the freedom of our people, but at the same time they were not sharing a similar, agenda, a similar method of doing such. And that is what we have to understand. That so when we think that all black people are just going to become unified and set us free, I think that's simplistic reasoning and thinking and logic. Yes. So I think that we have to understand, ladies and gentlemen, that we're not living in a simplistic world. And just like Europeans are not all together. But one thing we can learn from them, because they hate us so much, they unite when it matters. Unite when it matters.
Irrespective of
their differences. Absolutely. Yeah. And that is what we need to do. Yeah. We need to do. And if Trinidad and Jamaica and Barbados and Guyana and all of the Caribbean countries could unite and say, irrespective of our cultural differences or religious differences, ethnic differences, whatever, we're uniting, we're standing together against imperialism.
That's right.
Then it could work. I believe that can work. What do you have to say, Mr.
I agree. I agree with you.
Yes.
I do.
Yes.
I do.
Yes.
But many of us, we were saying that we saw this coming because earlier you said something about Bissessa Passad and them, and people are saying, well, America's a democracy. You know, this volumes have been published on this, tomes. We have been talking about this.
Mm-hmm.
Democracy is a highly contested term.
Yes.
And what do we mean by democracy? I had a friend who used to say, and we say, it's like a mental construct.
Yes, it is.
It is. I mean, if you study political philosophy and political science, they always point to the origin of the word and its praxis in the Greek city-state of Athens.
Yes.
But in this so-called democratic polity, you had women did not have the right to vote.
Mm-hmm.
And it was the whole system was based on slave labor.
Mm-hmm.
Good.
Mm-hmm.
So the question because as we said earlier, liberal democracy is one of the biggest cons ever invented and thrust on humanity.
Mm-hmm.
We ask people when they say the U.S. is a democracy, tell us in what year did the U.S. become a democracy? Was it at the time when the founding fathers who signed that document, because they were all slave holders, I think with the exception of Adams, was that a democracy?
Mm-hmm.
When Africans had to fight for the right
to
vote.
Yes. It's Africans who brought democracy to the United States after the Civil War.
That's right.
Yeah,
that's right. But we had a great visionary leader here by the name of Forbes Burnham.
Yeah.
And in the early 80s, Burnham said to us, a group of us, he said, I can prove to you that the U.S. is a one-party state.
It is.
And people was like, what? But they have two parties, Democratic and Republican. It's like, you see, there is one party with two different expressions, two expressions.
Absolutely.
You see?
Mm-hmm.
And people need to understand that. I listened to Claudia de la Cruz, the candidate for the Party for Socialism and Democracy. And she said, a brilliant woman, because she and the the one that run for the vice presidency are also a woman.
Kamala Harris.
The US, they went to the courts to make sure that the PSL and other parties cannot get on the ballot. Right? Because they like the two-party system. That is how it works. And at the end of the day, you see that whether it is Republicans or Democrat, the US system is non-negotiable. It does not come up, right, for debate. You don't vote to change the system. The system is a given. You vote for the parties that are there to manage and to continue the life of the system. And that is why other parties, whether it's the Communist Party of the USA, the Socialist Party that was led by people like Eugene Debs, who ran in the early days, and all those people were persecuted. You had outstanding scholars like
But that is why the thing that came to an end, the after the Civil War, what they call that period again, the Reconstruction. That's why they ended the Reconstruction, because the African Americans were pushing the whole democratic effort too aggressively, and they didn't like that. But let's go now, Mr. Pereira.
But just before you go on, brother.
Yeah.
Electocracy. People are confusing electocracy with democracy.
Correct.
Different things.
Correct.
And I do not believe, from my study, I do not believe, and I share the view of those political philosophers and others I saw in Libya. You cannot, democracy means, literally it means the rule by the people.
Yeah, that is what it means.
That's what it means. I don't see the people ruling the United States. I don't see the people ruling in the United Kingdom.
Anywhere.
I see elites. That's right. So back again, it's a mental construct. It's a mental. So those who are talking about democracy, every 5 years you elect some leader, and then you go back, and they make promises to you. They campaign on a particular platform with manifestos that are 80 to 200 pages, and then when they're getting, all they do is serve vested interests. That is what they do. And then the ones who really try to carry out meaningful change are pressured by external forces, whether it's the World Bank, the IMF, the CIA, the US government, and they instigate, they destabilize you.
Yes.
And let's breathe in space.
Let's talk about our people too. Our people, if the US does not endorse a prime minister or president, then we, the people, sometimes for the most part also don't endorse that person. And that is if we, the citizens of the country, would also stand up for what is right. So even if we know that our prime minister or president is not popular in the eyes of the United States or on the world stage, if we're convinced that what he or she is doing is right, we should stand by him or her, but we often don't. And that's the problem. And our leaders understand that. And because they understand that, look at Michael Manley. Michael Manley was hurt, when he saw what happened to him in the 70s, and he made a change in the night after that. Yeah. What if Jamaicans had stood up with him and said that we are backing him, we know he's not popular, we understand what is happening, but a lot of times the followers as citizens, we are also weak. But let's look at the shield of the summit that Kamala and Dr. Irfan Ali went to. Trump is now actually threatening that he can use now missiles on drug cartels. So if you're in your living room or you're in your bedroom or wherever you are, on land or on high seas, he can strike. What do you have to say about that?
Well, they bombed boats in the Caribbean. They killed fishermen. They killed The US, up to today, the US, they've not been able to show us the drugs that they've seized.
Yes.
The US, those Navy, the US Navy ships in the Caribbean,
Yes.
we were in a position to launch boats that can go out, seize the alleged drug dealers and show us the drugs. We haven't seen that.
They haven't.
So this is extrajudicial killing.
It is.
It was a case of where one person was floating in the thing and he was waving for survival. Why did he do something?
Yeah.
And Hex had said to kill him.
Yeah, they killed him.
Final command to blow him. This is extrajudicial killing. So when the police in these countries, in these government, like in Guyana and Trinidad, and the people in the country, they have to wake up. They have to take note, because when the police start executing young men in the street, extrajudicial killings, what are we going to say? You know, we can't justify something, stand up for something at the macro level, and then say at the micro condemn it, because extrajudicial killing is extrajudicial killing, whether it is done by the police of Trinidad and Guyana or by the United States.
But they have, Mr. Perreira, they have no institutionalized states of public emergency in which they are now combining the efforts of the police with the military, and we know the military is designed to kill. When they do these things, I think that it's out of our hands now because the laws are now on the book. What do you have to say?
I absolutely agree with you. I think the next thing, and I did mention this, I predicted, the next thing they will be doing is coming after activists.
Yes.
Remember today I told you this. They're going to come after anti-imperialist activists, to those of us who are organizing the people who are standing up against them. They're going to drone us. They're going to try to take us out. I mean, you listen to the language of Trump. We got to kill him. We're going to go in there and wipe them out. That is how they're talking. So I won't be surprised if tomorrow they're all, I'll tell you this, more than 100 organizations and individuals signed a letter which was delivered to the president of Guyana and to the Minister of Foreign Affairs. We did that a few days ago.
I saw it. Yes.
Yeah. 100 people. And a reporter told us that the U.S. Embassy called her, right, to give them the names of the individuals who signed that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Mr. Perreira, as you're saying that,
that is where, this is naked fascism. This is naked fascism we're witnessing.
What do you have to say about this the Strawberry, the newspaper in Guyana that is about to be defunct? Why? Why
the Starbuck News?
Yes, why?
Brother, I mean, you see even the New York Times is going under because, the road.
Right, right.
Young people don't buy newspapers. Newspapers are not selling, but they claim that one of the reasons that they're going out is that they claim that the government the government owes a lot of money to them in terms of for ads and so.
Yes.
There are other reasons for that, but that newspaper, I must say, I am not wishing the Stabroek any. I have no ill will towards the Stabroek News, but the Stabroek News, as a columnist keep pointing it out, I sent many, and some others did, many letters to the Stabroek News, and they would not publish it. Now, I'll tell you something.
Wow.
Ever since we had more than 2 years of genocide in Gaza, and my brother, the Stabroek News never carried one article on what was happening in Gaza.
Wow.
It was only the Kaichur News, and the Kaichur News on the front page every day, giving you, tallying up how many Palestinians killed, what was happening. Only the Kaichur. And you know what we found out? From good sources, that the then the then EU High Commissioner, European Union High Commissioner to Guyana, told the editing chief of Stabroek News not to carry anything on Gaza. There were
Wow.
3 public marches in support of Gaza. The first one drove 1,000 and something, the second one about 9, and the third one about over 600 and something. And the Stabroek never carried pictures, photographs of those marches, only the Kaichur. Only the Kaichur. And I spoke at 2 of those rallies. And when I got to the airport to travel, I was traveling, I think I mentioned it to you, did I?
You did.
Yes. And I was prevented on board in the British Airways flight going to London because the US State Department said it was carrying me traveling. So that is what is going on. We're being persecuted. So the next thing they're going to step up there, they're going to drone us. They're going to kill us.
Now, let's look at Cuba, as President Jafar is saying, them done already watching me because of my support for Cuba and Venezuela. Now, we're seeing this Cuban situation. Recently, Jamaica decided to end the Cuban medical program, which is very strange because you had Andrew Holness going to the 50th Heads of Government meeting there in St. Kitts and Nevis, and he made some comments which I found they were just diplomatic comments. I didn't find these comments bothersome. I don't think he was siding with or against Cuba, right? Then you had the congressman in the United States threatening Jamaica that Jamaica will pay for the statements that the Prime Minister made. However, people were saying, well, what did he say? But now we are hearing after that Jamaica has just decided that it's going to end after almost over 50 years of agreement. What do you sense is happening here?
Jamaica and Guyana. And we caught the Minister of Health in Guyana lying because he said it was the Cubans that terminated. But that's not true. That's not true. That's not true. Marco Rubio came to Guyana and he told the president of Guyana to kick out the Cuban Medical Brigade. They put the same pressure was put on Jamaica. But this is what people need to know.
Yes.
Had it not been for the Cuban medical brigades in this country, they've been here for over 40 years. Our health system would have collapsed a long time.
The same for Jamaica.
In the hinterland, far outreaching areas of Guyana. So it's only the Cuban doctors who were prepared to go there. No nightlife, anything. Our own Guyanese doctors didn't want to go there. And the Cubans did a good job. I saw not too long ago, about 4 days ago, a number of elderly Americans, white Americans, just traveled to Cuba for a drug that is considered revolutionary to stop Alzheimer's.
Wow. In Cuba. In Cuba. Wow.
Yes, in Cuba. And they were saying, look, all this blockade and the fueling going, this is what Cuba's doing. Cuba is defending human life and dignity.
Yes.
On the other side, who is doing this to Cuba is promoting death. The good book said, choose life. And Cuba, the Cuban Revolution, choose life. Now, the other thing is, apart from the Cuban medical brigades, what they did in Guyana and all over the world, our people need to remember they love Nelson Mandela. They love Nelson Mandela. Nelson Mandela said, had it not been for Fidel Castro and the Cuban fighters who went to fight in Angola.
Yes.
And the decisive battle of Quito Carnival, where the Cuban forces with the Angolans defeated the apartheid regime and forced the South African government to come to the negotiating table because the military option was no longer viable. Cuba, Michael Manley said in his book, Struggling in Jamaica.
On the periphery, yes.
In the periphery. Michael Manley said, do you know that when Cuba decided to send those fighters to Angola, the Russians were not even aware of it? The Russians, that Fidel Castro said, Manley said that Castro told him they stayed up right through the night to make a decision that Cuba was going to move weaponry that was important for their own defense to send to Angola.
Okay, let's look at the labor laws. One of the reasons for which Jamaica is alleging, is purporting that it has given up that sort of program is that the Cuban government was violating the rights of the laborers coming from the professionals coming from Cuba in the sense that the money was sent to the government or it seems like they didn't get their reimbursement directly, and sometimes they're alleging that passports could have been withheld, and among other labor violations. Have you read that, and what is your take on that?
Well, let me tell you something about that. You know, they took more than 45 years to realize that.
Very good question. Very good question.
45 years. Let me tell you, long before Trump came, long before the Trump administration,
yes,
we had Cuban doctors who worked in Guyana, right? And after the service, some of them stayed in Guyana. Some stayed in Guyana. And it had this thing about Cuba took nothing. This thing about the money was going, they were working and going. That's not true.
Yes.
That is not true. This is a colossal lie. And the Cubans are going to refute it. But what they want to do, right? Guyana's talking about brain drain. We are training nurses and everything. And America and those countries are encouraging them to go, to leave Guyana.
Yes.
And that is what Rubio them want. They want that. They're hoping that Cuban doctors will jump ship. Right? Don't serve in the medical brigade and go out.
Yes.
That is what they want. But then they frame it under this law, labor laws. Well, if we're going to talk about labor laws, I can tell you about labor laws in Guyana.
And in Jamaica too. Yeah. And that's a very good. I like your opening question. Why now? Why now? Having had them for years, why is it now that you think that their labor laws violate international human rights? I just don't understand it. So it's obviously the pressure that they're under.
This is just Marco Rubio, Governor Rubio, we call him. Governor Rubio came in with a directive, and they went along with it.
And
we caught the Minister of Health lying.
Yes.
We caught him lying.
Yes.
These guys, they are, go on.
Why is Miss Mia Motley silent now? Because she said that she was prepared to give up her visa if the case. I know that Barbados might not have the doctor. I think she probably ended the contract. I don't know, sometimes after COVID. But why aren't we hearing her on the platform now speaking against this, egregious violation of,
Well, I know Barbados and some other countries are talking about, of course, sending of humanitarian aid, and so I don't want to hit up on any because it would not be the right, because at the end of the day, we've noticed that it was only 2 CARICOM countries that were invited to the Summit of Fascists. That's what we call it, the Summit of Fascists, and that's Trinidad and Guyana.
Yes, but
they did not invite the rest.
Yeah, but we know that Trump always plays that game. The last time in 2019, Jamaica was invited, Trinidad was not invited. During Biden's time, Jamaica, Guyana, Barbados, and some other Caribbean countries were invited for the Haitian thing. So they're playing a game. They're dividing us.
That's right. That's what they're doing, and they look for the weakest link in the chain.
Correct.
Being able to do that with Passad Bissessa and Ali in Guyana.
Right.
But I agree with you. We have not heard anything from the Prime Minister Mia Motley.
Yeah.
And we need to.
How is Dr. Irfan Ali able to play both sides, though? He seems to be chummy with both sides, with the Democratic Party and with the Republican Party. How is he able to do that? And I don't know if you saw the lineup there when the presidents and prime ministers were lined up with Trump being the middle. If you noticed, Ali was to the left or the right, and who else? And the Dominican president, Luis Abinader, was on the other side of Trump.
Yeah.
What did you see? Do you think it was just coincidental, or you think that there was some message?
No. Ali even went to the point of agreeing with Rubio that there have to be a change in the status quo in
Cuba. Yes.
Cuba. No CARICOM leader said that.
Yes.
And he said that was discussed at the meeting. And that was not true. That was not true.
Yes.
He and Bissessa were called aside. They had a special meeting.
Yes.
With Rubio to discuss regime change.
Yes, yes,
to
yes.
discuss regime change. And Trinidad and Guyana is going along with that line. They do too. Because you heard Passad Bissessa about Cuba's not a democracy.
Yes, I heard her statement on that.
Good.
But you know, one of the things I've always said, Mr. Pereira, a lot of times when the US, the person that they show you as the face, like we think that Mrs. Person Bissessar is the face of this US imperialism now in the Caribbean because of her stance on many things. And she's open and she says things in the most, despicable way. But the fact is that maybe behind the scenes, Dr. Irfan Ali is the more powerful of the two. And that is why we found him to the was it to the left or the right? I can't
Of
remember.
course, because
Yes,
we have the oil and gas.
correct,
We have the
correct,
oil and gas.
correct. But we
Yeah.
we are actually shooting Mrs. Person Bissessar because
That's
she
right.
visibly, is the
That's right.
face. But it
That's
seems
right.
to me that Dr. Ali is the face
Yeah,
of
that's
of
right.
what is happening.
Definitely. I
Yes.
mean, look at what Trump did.
Mm-hmm.
He told India, the man is behaving like the real emperor. He told India, heavy tariffs on you if you buy gas and oil from Russia.
Mm-hmm.
And now with what is happening in the Middle East, he told Modi, oh, I give you permission, you can buy from Russia. But
Right.
Russia is saying, well, it's not going to work like that. Because we need to replace the I in BRICS for India with I for Iran.
Right.
Because India is not a good player in BRICS.
Yeah.
India is not a good player in BRICS. And Modi is an ally of Netanyahu. Modi is very inconsistent. I'm not saying that you should not look up India, but Modi is an opportunist. Modi has taken positions that are not in the best interest of the global South.
He's a US puppet.
Of course.
Yeah,
Remember when Trump first stormed,
Yeah.
they had a big thing welcoming in Texas, howdy Modi, and he spoke with Trump. Yes. Because there is, if you study, I'm not hitting the Hindu religion,
Yes.
but there are aspects of Hindu philosophy that can find commonality with Zionism and apartheid. Yes.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised because remember now, I think it was W. Du Bois who said that the colorism that the Europeans brought to the colonies came out of India, from the caste system of India.
That's
so we shouldn't be surprised that your comment of that.
That's
I think that is true. Yeah,
when Hitler came into power, there were some Indian activists, many of the people whose ideas shaped the present BJP and the RSS that assassinated Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi. Right? They were inspired by Nazi Germany. Chandra Bose traveled to Germany to meet with Hitler, and Hitler sent it back good. But they saw there were many Indian scholars who saw, and the religious leaders saw Hitler as an avatar. That's a God on earth incarnate walking amongst us. They saw Hitler as that, and noticed the use of the Indian swastika, a religious symbol.
Absolutely. That's a very good point. Yes.
So, it's not a coincidence or anything. There's a lot of similarities. The Aryanization.
Yes, the custom is brutal. It's brutal.
Yeah.
Now, Mr. Perreira, what do you think about the fact that Mexico, Brazil, Colombia, Peru, some very powerful countries in Latin America, were not invited to the shield of the American Summit, What was your take on that? Why do you think?
Of course, because those governments are not. You can consider them center-left governments. They will not go along. I mean, with the others. The others are. You look at the lineup of the other parties, and you know what they represent.
They're right wing.
They're right wing parties, but they're not going to survive. They're not going to survive. They're going to be either overthrown by street protests or they're going to be removed through the electoral process. They're not going to survive. Yes. The other thing is that what was very noticeable. Mexico sent 2 ships with supplies to Cuba.
Yes.
Humanitarian aid.
Yes.
And then suddenly you had this
Menko,
alleged killing of
yes,
a
drug
cartel
kingpin.
leader,
Yes, yes,
and
yes.
then all these gunmen going into the streets,
Mm-hmm.
burning
Mm-hmm.
their houses that house food, attacking pharmaceutical places,
Mm-hmm.
petrol station, and
Yes.
coming out. And then he had the gumption to turn around and refer to the president of Mexico as Sheinborn, as a leader of the drug cartel.
Yes, that's what he
But
does.
that's
Anybody
what he
does
does.
anybody doesn't agree with him, that's what he says about them.
That's right. But
Yes,
you can
yes,
see it's U.S. agencies, intelligence services that
yes.
deliberately tried to destabilize, because notice that came exactly not too long after Mexico dispatched 2 ships with humanitarian aid to Cuba.
That's a very good point. And I don't think the United States is hiding out, because they did tell us that they share the intelligence, and the Mexican army was used to execute whatever they were executing to kill the guy. So we know that the US the CIA was involved in that. But the connection you're making with the fact that it was after they sent the aid to Cuba that took place,
Definitely.
that's
Definitely.
deep.
That's not a
That's
point.
deep.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is
Definitely.
deep. Yeah,
Yeah.
that is deep. Yeah,
Yeah.
and it should. But isn't the president of Mexico willing to work with Trump to dismantle drug trafficking in Mexico? Why is he treating her like that?
A good question. Because the American war is not really on drugs. A
Correct.
lot of the drugs that are going into the US is
Correct.
coming from Ecuador, and Ecuador is invited.
Right.
You know,
Right. Right.
there. I was going through years ago, and I updated it, the research showing the connection, this bond between
Mm-hmm.
the CIA, the drug cartels, and the Nazis.
Mm-hmm. And the
Ever
Vatican
since,
too.
yeah,
Yeah.
ever since the end of the Second World War,
Mm-hmm.
the Nazis that were facilitated, that were moved out of Europe and put into North
Argentina and
America,
the
like
US too.
Klaus Barbie, the
Mm-hmm.
Butcher of Leon. You remember Klaus Barbie?
Mm-hmm.
He was given the rank of an honorary colonel in the Bolivian army,
Mm-hmm.
and he was one who was involved in the tracking down of Che Guevara.
Mm-hmm.
But he earned his money from the U.S. Embassy, through the U.S. Embassy base in Bolivia.
Yes.
And when the Zionists got wind of him, they kidnapped him. You remember? And
Mm-hmm.
he went to trial in France. And at
Yes.
his trial, he said this. He said, "I've always been anti-communist ever since I was in the Third Reich, in the Hitler
Mm-hmm.
army. And I served y'all. I fought for you. I helped the CIA. And this is what you were doing to me." Yes. So there've always been that bond between the far right groups, neo-Nazi groups, neo-Nazi groups,
And the drug cartels. Mm-hmm.
and the CIA.
Yeah.
And you remember the Oliver North story?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
The Contragate. Yes.
So where are we now heading? Because what is happening in our world now, we can see the consolidation of power. I think that people need to understand the whole matter of that powers that be are coming together. They're stealing the resources of the people. And that's why I say that there's no democracy. And that's why there's no democracy.
That's
Because
right.
if there were democracy, then the people would be the owners of these
That's
resources.
right.
Now
That's
we
right.
know that we are not, and they're coming together and they are joining up. And we think it's our wars, but it doesn't seem like it's our wars, because they're not defending democracy. They're defending elitism. They're
That's right.
defending this
right.
oligarchic rule.
That's
So
right.
where do we go from here?
Well, brother, just when we thought that the battles that the elders fought many moons ago, that we had completed those, or at least won those battles, and that we have to continue the struggle, we are fighting those battles all over again.
All over again.
All over again. Because
Yeah.
we are seeing this as open drive to recolonize us, to make us submit, to prostrate ourselves
Mm-hmm.
before the new Caligula in the White House.
Mm-hmm.
And this so-called Dunroad doctrine does not recognize our independence and sovereignty.
Mm-hmm.
It does not. And any leader, and the Caribbean leaders need to understand this. Please don't tell our people that you're sovereign and independent. No, you're not.
You're not.
No, no, you're not. You
Mhm.
have made yourself, you allowed yourself to become, you've
Mhm.
allowed yourself to become a part of a vassal state, a satellite of the empire. And the only
Yes.
way forward is that we have to mobilize our people to resist. Or if we don't, we will betray all that the ancestors fought for.
Yes, Mr. Perreira, I think sovereignty is ackee and saltfish, cocoa pot,
Yes.
and that is what our people, Carnival, that is what they see as sovereignty. And I have to be telling them, you can talk about your ackee and saltfish and who cooks the best this and that. That's
Yeah.
all we talk about on social media. And they're
Yeah.
not talking about the real issues that are at play. So you hear that, oh, my prime minister from Trinidad, she is commanding, Trump's attention, and
Really?
Trump is the most powerful man in the world. So we, Trinidadans should be proud of that. These are the little baby conversations we have in the Caribbean.
So
So
we have a lovely cartoon circulating. I'm going to flick it to you after.
yes,
With Trump telling Kamala and Ali, you had your 2 minutes of glory. Now get scam from here, get there, and they're running away.
what?
Yeah. You had your 2 minutes of glory, so get away, get away, go, 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 go.
Don't you see how he was shaking
And
her
they're
hand?
running.
Don't you see how he was shaking Mrs. Possessor's hand? It's
Yeah.
almost like it was a mocking.
Yes.
It wasn't sincere, and she
Yeah.
was holding on to him, but he was like, and trying to take away his hand as quickly as possible, and she was just holding on to him as if he's some god.
Well, their experience in the Caribbean have been different to us, the Africans in the Caribbean.
It is sad, but Trump doesn't.
I love this. Capitalism is an enemy of humanity.
Yes.
Well said.
Yes, this is from J4. Let us look at some of the comments. All wars are resource wars fueled by imperialist capitalism.
Correct.
Yes, and and we have he's saying again, President Jafar, dotish Caribbean people don't know no better. All them know is jamming and unwinding. That's exactly what they know.
Sad but true.
It's sad. Like when I talked about the Trinidad and Carnival, I wasn't attacking Trinidad and Carnival. I know that people have to sometimes, but everybody, talk about Jamaican Carnival. I said the fact of the matter is that whatever Carnival, you almost, they were going to get a bullet. Thankfully, Trump went and go ahead.
We must not pander to ignorance.
Yes.
Politicians sometimes they don't what they should tell the people, they don't tell because it would not make them popular.
Correct.
That's the difference between the revolutionaries and them. We tell the people the truth. We always say it. We rather tell the people the truth and get 100 votes rather than lie to you and get 1,000.
Yeah, correct. Correct.
When Jesus came with his message, he didn't bring it for popularity.
You're right.
The prophets didn't come to gain popularity.
Yes.
They brought the truth.
Yes.
They brought the truth.
And it's painful.
You have to tell. I don't romanticize. We are for the people. Yes, we are for the people. Don't romanticize it.
Yes.
We know too.
Are you there, Mr. Perreira?
Yes.
Yes. Are you saying something? Go ahead.
No, this is true. As the guy just said, revolutionaries speak the uncomfortable truths.
Correct. And we are not here because we're happy that these things are happening. We are sad. When I talk about the U.S. empire, it's not because I want to glorify that it's an empire. I don't want to glorify, but we have to come to an understanding, and that is what Mr. Perreira, that back during slavery, the slaves knew who were their enemies.
That's right.
And they fought against because it was obvious. I don't think our enemies are obvious to us today for the most part, and I think that is where we might be losing the battle. What do you think?
Yes, you're right. I want to say this, that one of the sad things is if you look across the Caribbean, every time there's a political, you're winding up to the final, the last
campaign.
Before you go to the polls, the last campaign. Mm-hmm. There's people with glasses, with rum and beer.
The flags
we have to go. I think it's a time that we end that. We have to go beyond that. You have this, becomes and it is a sort it contributes to the dumbing down of our people.
It is. It has.
We
Yes.
we are seen as, people take us, the stereotype. When the people here, you go to the Western world, you go somewhere as far as Australia, so they say, "Oh, you from the Caribbean?" It is a lot of sun,
Yes.
sun and sand and rum.
Yes. Yes.
That's what they know. And cricket.
Mhm.
I said, well, here, let me remind you, we also
Produce
produce some of the greatest
scholars. Yes,
minds
scholars. Yes.
on earth.
Yes.
But they
Yes.
don't know that. They don't talk about that. So
No.
we stereotype us, on the beach with rum and carnival and all of that. And we reinforce that.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
reinforce that.
Yeah. Yeah.
We sell that.
Yes.
Our ministries of tourism sell that.
Right. Right. Absolutely. And the whole point, Mr. Pereira, is the fact that, because the politicians have nothing to say to our people, that is why they have to imbibe those of the cultural, gimmicks, by having the flag and good music, and they think that they're Jamaicans or Guyanese and Barbadians, and because they have nothing to say to them. What can they say?
Yeah.
They're not the real leaders, and they can't say that to the people.
Yeah.
So they have to pretend as if they're defending the cultural makeup and the nationalism of these countries, and people are just carried away. So answer two more, then we have to move on. So let us look at two more, and then we're going to have to move on. I end the program. I still think that removal of PNM leadership for Kamala government in Trinidad was a result of a bloodless coup. What would you say to that, Mr. Pereira?
I think there's some truths in that
Yes.
are coming out. Yeah.
Yes.
Definitely.
Yes. You think that there would have been a coup if he had remained in power?
Yeah.
If Mr. Wow.
I
ahead.
think I listened to Rowley's statement, and Rowley said, if I got to lose visa, let me lose it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But didn't Rowley sign off to the status of forces agreement, which would have allowed the United States to send military assets and so forth to Trinidad and Tobago.
But I listened to him, and he didn't say it. He said he denied it.
Well, they normally deny things. So that's what they do.
I know.
I know. They're not going to say
yes.
Sometimes
we have to look at what we have was staring us in our face, and we have to go for.
Yeah. Well, the Trinidad Guardian or Express, I can't remember which one, did publish when the thing was sent, and he seemed to have signed it when he was in office. Yeah. And the conditions.
I'm not defending Keith Rowley, but I don't think he would have gone along with the line that Prasad Bisesa.
I don't think he would have been so blatantly,
so compliant,
and so blatant with his pronouncement.
No.
Yes, I don't think, but I think eventually he would. But I don't think he would have said that he's lied. He might say that, yes, in the interest of national security, we have to protect our seas. Crime is out.
That's what they always tell us.
Yes, that's the line that he would.
The US come, yeah.
Right. He would not be saying that he's pro-Trump or he's, and I think that is where now Mrs. Kamala Harris, she went off track. But you cannot, as a sitting prime minister, say to your citizens that you support a U.S. or any prime minister or president, because you have a population that is diverse, right? Yeah. Who are pro-Trump or who might be anti-Trump. So you stay in the middle. You should be more measured. She should not be coming out and telling the populace that she is supporting Biden or Trump or whomever.
That's right.
Yeah,
absolutely right.
That should not have been.
Can you imagine a Marco Rubio going into Jamaica, flying into Jamaica to confront Michael Manley, or into Barbados, Errol Barrow, or Forbes Burnham in Guyana, or even Eric Williams in Trinidad? Burnham once said, when they asked Burnham about some British and Americans commenting on his elections, whether it was free or fair, Burnham said, why don't they people stay home and mind their own barnyards.
There was some fear on Mr. Manley's part. I remember when Beverly Anderson Manley, that his ex-wife, she said that Kissinger had gone to Jamaica to see him, to see Michael Manley. I think he went there unannounced, and then when he got there, he called the Prime Minister and said, he had the audacity to say to Prime Minister Michael, the then Prime Minister Michael Manley, that he was in Ocherias and that he should come over and see him. And it was Beverly who said to him, "No way. You are the Prime Minister of Jamaica. He should come to Jamaica House, not you're going to see him somewhere in Ocherias. So let him come." And that is how he came. So it seems to me that, his wife, was the one who sometimes would insist that, look here, don't allow these.
Beverly Manley was a very strong,
she is. And she still remains a very strong woman who doesn't, but I haven't heard her say anything too, to be frank. She's older now, though, I should say, but I haven't heard her say anything about the Cuban program, because I know she has a lot of respect for the Cubans.
Yeah, of course. I'm seeing this here. Look at this. All this is just sour grapes, envy, and jealousy. Trinidad and Tobago has been the ATM for the CARICOM peoples for but a very, very long time, and all we got is kicker. This is not true. Let me tell you, of all the countries in CARICOM, the country that gave more to CARICOM was Guyana. Always, Guyana gives a lot to CARICOM.
Yeah, is the head office is there.
Trinidad has always done nonsense in CARICOM. Let's be clear here.
Yes.
Trinidadians, do you know a lot of the currency that is being bought up in Guyana is Trinidadians coming about the US currency? Trinidadians are coming in Guyana, buying properties, building properties, and renting it out in US dollars. We have people here who tried to open business in Trinidad and got the royal runaround frustrated. They cannot. Trinidad, water from Trinidad is selling. Bottled water from Trinidad is selling in Guyana, and Guyana cannot export bottled water to Trinidad.
The same thing happens in Jamaica.
Trinidad is a big myth. Trinidad has been, of all the countries that treated Guyanese nasty over the decades, was Trinidad. I remember when I used to going through, not me, I didn't have that, but they had a bench called the Guyanese bench. They will pull Guyanese over, have them pay, and then send them back. And for someone to say, but Trinidad is now, the amount of Trinidadians working in Guyana?
Yeah, because
thousands.
Yeah, because the plate has turned.
From the days of Stoneham, Guyana pumped a lot into CARICOM. And we did not get back what we put in. So when you hear Trinidad, these guys talking this, they're talking absolute rubbish.
They don't understand how the economic system, the financial system operates. But what they will tell you...
Always, every CARICOM leader will tell you that. You speak to any minister of trade in CARICOM. Trinidad always violated many of the principles in the economic, the arrangement, economic, or the Caribbean free market, the movement of goods. Yes,
for example, they wouldn't allow our patties for a long time. Every time something is wrong with Jamaican product, but we must accept theirs. So that is true. That is true. They always put up some benchmark, something where your product cannot reach into their market.
That's right.
Theirs is getting into your market.
To say this is sour grapes and envy, they're up talking.
There's no envy there. There's no envy there. There's no envy there. And CARICOM has really, they benefited from CARICOM economically. Right?
That's right.
And I've told them too. But they will say to us that, because that is how the free market operates, that if you are in a strong position, then you are going to flood the markets with your product.
There has never been a free market.
Very good. Very good.
It was a free market. It's a myth.
Very good. The rules have been set up for them to have benefited and other countries to have not benefited.
Look at what. They talk about globalization and the neoliberal ideology that drive globalization, deregulate the economy, open up the market, remove protectionism, don't protect your farmers and everything. And the Chinese use their own game and beat them at it, and now they want to turn against it.
Correct.
Everybody.
Correct.
Trump turned around. Trump turned around and said, hey, Germany, if you're selling steel, we are going to put so much on you. Good. The thing about the West is so hypocritical.
It is.
They're so hypocritical. They wanted us in the global south, our governments. We should protect our farmers. We shouldn't preach about Guyana force or putting us force. We must remove, privatize, right? Don't subsidize our farmers so that they can come in and just dump their things on our economy, and then a week on, and then you tell us about free market. What is a free market?
You can't blame them, Mr. Perreira, because when we look at the education system, the best documentary or the best book I could say to you to read about that free market myth is the document that was made by, was it Stephen Black, Life and Debt, in which the Jamaican farmers who were not educated, they were like the most educated person, but they understood what was happening. And they were able to say, this is what is happening. All of these textbooks, all of these textbooks that we are learning from at the University of the West Indies and other universities are telling us lies.
Lies.
They're telling us lies. Yeah, they're lies. They're lies. They're lies.
You know the famous textbook by Samuelson that you use.
Yes.
Absolute rubbish.
Yes. So the Trinities have learned from these books. Give them their credit. They went to school and they have learned from these books, and they're just, just dishing out, repeating robotically what these books have been saying, because that's all they're understanding. But we're not here to bash Trinities now, okay? We understand that you play a very important role, but let us clear up the myth. Yes, Mr. Perreira, go ahead.
Yes.
Yeah.
One of the things you're talking about, the economics.
Yes.
When we were in high school and we were doing economics, and we did it up to the A-level and so on.
A-level and so on.
Start off on this premise that economics looks at scarcity. Yes. They start off on this thing about scarcity. And we were young activists in school, and so that's how long we've been in this thing, And one day we challenged the economics teacher. We said, look, we don't agree with this thing about scarcity.
Yes.
We think the issue here, because we were reading Marx.
Yes.
I'm not Marxist, but no one can deny that Marx was a great
his contribution and his contribution.
That's right. So we say here, we don't agree. We told the economics teacher, we don't agree with this. The issue here is an issue of wealth.
Yes, and distribution of wealth.
Who owns it? How it is owned,
and how it's distributed. Absolutely.
They don't start on that premise, and then we start to unravel everything. So when you go back there, as you rightfully pointed, it was all a lie.
It's a lie.
It's a lie.
Yeah.
And that is what education is about.
Yes.
Education is not about going in and just it's about critical thinking.
Mr. Perreira, I did
too much teaching but little education.
I did 2 levels at University of Economics.
Too much schooling but little education.
Yes, of economics, right? And when I went to those classes, it was boring. And why was it boring? Because nothing that they were saying made any sense. They just wanted you to memorize some graphs and some whatever, and I'm saying this is not real, Why should I memorize these things that are nonsensical? From then, and at that time, I could not defend why I thought it was nonsense. I can now, but then I could. Just found it did not connect with me. President Jafar is saying, and no cowboy can tell Barrow how to run his country. Yeah, we need to tell them what the truth is. But many of our leaders are not able to stand up, as President Jafar is saying.
No,
go ahead, Mr. Perreira.
Well, I was looking for it. There's a book written by a great economist from New Zealand about economics as a fraudulent science. And so I just wanted to show you the cover.
It's not even a science. It's not even a science.
It's not a science. That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's
1.38. Jafar is saying, Mr. Perreira, 1.38 billion Trinidad gets in export profits a year from CARICOM. Yet they say they are an ATM machine card. Dotish Trinities does annoy me. Yeah. So is that number accurate? I'm not sure. I would have to check that. That's a lot. 1.38 billion that they would get from, I guess, trading with other CARICOM countries. Trinidad and Tobago are still warm and friendly people. They are, and very, very creative people. Yes, indeed. The steel pan is still the greatest. Well, yes, that's what you think, and nothing is wrong with that in thinking instrument of the
Yeah.
21st century. Nothing is wrong, and
What is wrong with that?
Yeah, Guyana will say something else. Jamaica is going to say something. Barbados, we all say that we
Yeah.
have the best of the best. But
Yeah.
let's now, look at facts, and we're not trying to say who has the best curry and the best rice and peas and all of that stuff. That's what it's all about. Every time you hear discussions about the Caribbean, that's all they talk about. We have who has the best music, who dances the best, who has the best looking girls. That is how we talk.
Yeah.
We lend Guyana so much money. We even have to write off some of those loans for Guyana. What do you have to say, Mr. Perreira, to that comment?
That happened during the period with Eric Williams, and so yes, we went
Mm-hmm.
through.
Yes.
But the
Okay.
context is important because
Yes.
listen what happened. We on the Burnham, we nationalized the bauxite
Mm-hmm.
industry. We took control of the sugar from Bocas and everything, right? And there was an agreement that between Trinidad, Guyana, Jamaica, and Barbados.
Mm-hmm.
Guyana and Jamaica are the producers of bauxite.
Yes.
We were members of a body called the International Bauxite Association then.
Mm-hmm.
And the agreement was that the bauxite, Trinidad, because of its energy, having the oil and so, we will have to smelt in Trinidad.
Mm-hmm.
And the bauxite will go there, and Trinidad will set up the smelt and so there.
Mm-hmm.
And the shipping, because of the thing, will be done through Barbados.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know pressure was applied?
Wow.
And
from the United States? From the US?
Start to crack, yes. And then pressure was put on President Burnham and so.
Mm-hmm.
And Guyana went through a very rough period. The United States was even the sole F-16 fighters to Venezuela.
Mm-hmm.
Because at that time they had successive client regimes that the US supported. And because Burnham was pursuing socialist-oriented policies, he allowed the Cuban troops to the planes from Cuba going to Angola to refuel in Guyana. And the Americans were annoyed with that.
Yes.
They started to apply pressure on us.
Mm-hmm.
And there was the sole F-16 fighters to Venezuela was pushing Venezuela to invade us.
Mm-hmm.
You see? But now there's a regime in Venezuela that they don't like, and they have a vassal regime in Guyana. They're supporting Guyana. They're friends in Guyana. They're supporting Guyana. And our politicians are such dunces. They don't remember. Henry Kissinger, he said America has no permanent friends and no permanent enemies.
Only interests, yes.
Only permanent interests. So today, you saw, look, they want to rope in the Kurds in the fight against Iran. The Kurds said, no. Y'all just dumped us in Syria. You just dumped us in Syria. When the Damascus regime attacked us, you left us at the mercy of them.
Yes.
But our leaders don't seem to learn.
Right. Philbert, we understand these things that you're pointing out. Mr. Perreira and I know all of these. Trinidad and Tobago has a very high literacy rate. We know that. I've taught many Trinidadians, and they were some of the smartest students I've ever taught. Yes, you're only behind Barbados. Yes, a very bright country.
And the highest in the region is Cuba.
Yes, and the highest in the region is Cuba. Higher than Jamaica, you're correct. And most of the others in the entire Caribbean, we're not arguing that. We know all of that. What we're saying here, we have to look at certain facts and understand that there are certain myths that Jamaicans say to themselves, I have had to that Guyanese say to themselves, and we are here to correct some of those myths, and that's what Mr. Perreira is doing. But we're not here to discuss that Trinidadians don't have some of the most beautiful women in the world. They do. That they don't have high literacy rate. They do. And he's saying also that in terms of energy, we know that in terms of energy, Trinidad is one of the strongest in the region. Of course, now Guyana is. You have some competition with Guyana right now. So we have socialist and communist countries are the biggest enemy of US and Britain. What would you say to that, Mr. Perreira?
Well, I've always, this has always been my position. If the argument by the apologists, the defenders of capitalism is this, They say, oh, socialism doesn't work, socialism doesn't this and all that. But why is it that anytime a country embarks on a socialist program, the very people who say that it won't work, you start to destabilize that government. You don't give it a breathing space. Why not leave it and let it collapse on its own volition? Why not?
That's a very good
It happened with the Bolsheviks, with the Russians. They never give the Russian Revolution a breathing space. The Sandinistas. Look. Libya was a socialist country. Their socialism was different to what you had in the Eastern Bloc, okay?
Yes.
They had one of the highest standard of living in Africa. I lived there and I benefited from the free medical care, the amount of hospitals. You can walk, you can send your child, your daughter into the street at 1 o'clock, 2:30 in the morning, not a finger will be laid on it. It was taken care. The people had a say in the decision making. They didn't have political parties because they believed that is not the way. You had popular congresses where the people were involved in the basic to make decisions. But what then you never forgive them for kicking out your military bases and taking control of the island. Right? This thing about Iran goes back to the 50s when they kicked out Mossadegh. When Iran nationalized the oil.
Yes.
And then you brought the Shah and put him on the peacock throne. You were meant to be Republicans, but then you went and imposed a monarchy on the Iranian people. Good. And of course, the Iranian Revolution kicked those backward feudalists and out of the country. But my point is, show me, even if you're not, leave the Chinese. Let's get at this. Whatever the Chinese is working. Name me one country in the capitalist West or any country that has been pursuing neoliberal economic policies that have been able to narrow the gap between the have and the have-nots, right? With poverty, it is in the capitalist countries the gap between poverty is increasing.
Yes.
Now look at China. For the past 5 years, China has moved more than 300 million people out of poverty.
But it is not practicing socialism, though. You admit.
No, but that's another argument.
Yes.
Because socialism, what is socialism? Even if you go and you argue, Marx himself said, if you're going by the Chinese system, that Marx never said that socialism will not, in a socialist system, you'll never have features of capitalism. Marx never said that.
Right.
Marx said that in the transition. Marx said that you will get a classless society with communism. But Marx did acknowledge that, and Marxist scholars did acknowledge that in this period, you will have elements of capitalism existing alongside elements of socialist planning and so.
I see what you're saying. Yes.
Yeah. But at the end of the day, in China, the mechanisms of the market is not left to regulate by itself. Good. There is state planning. They are capitalists in China, but they don't call the shots. The Communist Party guides the country. There is state planning of the economy, and there is a framework within that economy, national economy.
So they have a mixed economy. They have a mixed economy.
Yes,
that is what I believe in. I believe in
mixed it is. The mixed points more in the direction of state.
Yeah, yes. Absolutely. Yeah,
that's right.
But even the real economists, even of capitalism, like what's his name? He's always on podcasts. One of this great American economists. I can't remember his name, but he always speaks about the fact that in the 19th century, Great Britain and the United States practiced the form of capitalism that you will see a state capitalism. Well, it was the neoliberal people who started to move it away from the idea that government does not need to be involved and set rules for the economy. Just have the business class to do whatever they want to do.
Well, at the end of the Second World War, after Churchill government, the
Right.
conservative class,
Right.
Clement Attlee, the Labour Party came into office. And a lot of what the welfare state, a lot of what the National Health Service, and although a lot of it has been damaged, a lot of what Britain enjoyed was not brought about by the by the Conservative Party. It was by the Labour Party.
By the Labour Party and the States too. And the United States too.
And in the United States, the New Deal.
The New Deal, absolutely. The New Deal.
Delano Roosevelt.
Yes.
Intervened and created state. Yes. You know what? Big business in the United States start calling Roosevelt a communist.
Yes, because they used President Clinton, this very charismatic leader, to have removed those progressive elements,
policies.
Correct.
Which was a continuation of Reaganomics.
Yes, and then they said, "Oh, he balanced the budget." But how did he balance the budget? At what cost? At what cost?
The cost.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah, massive cost. Yeah. None of these G5 countries will allow private foreign nationals to come into their countries and own key parts of their economies. Why force us to sell off national properties? We must nationalize. Yeah, I think she's right. What would you say, Mr. Perreira?
I don't disagree. Of course, I agree with that. But let me tell you something. One of the problems, one of the mistakes that some governments made is you can nationalize, but you didn't necessarily socialize.
That's deep.
You see, you can remove, you can nationalize an entity.
Yes.
Meaning it's owned now by the nation. Mm-hmm. You can nationalize an entity, but still you've removed private capitalists and replaced them with state bureaucrats or state capital.
That is deep.
What Yugoslavia did under Tito, they implemented a thing called worker self-management. And they did it in Libya. So what they did in Libya was this. You nationalize an entity, but you allow for popular decision making. So there was what you call worker participation. Good. So in Libya, you were no longer called a wage earner. You became a partner in production. So the fact there wasn't this one man type of management. A manager had his role, right? He had his role. He brought his knowledge. But he could not just make unilateral decisions. There was you couldn't knock off workers. So the workers in the factory were represented. The workers could speak. So if a factory made X amount of money and they had a surplus, they decide how much, the management will they show up the figures, the accountants, everybody, this is what we have. And the people, the producers, the workers will decide, look, this is how much to go to the national coffers so that it can go into education, healthcare, and so. This is how much will be reinvested into the factory. And this is how much will be disbursed among the producers. See? So in Libya, there was no capitalist class that was appropriating the surplus for itself. No.
Yes.
Because if that was happening, then they would not have been able to provide all that healthcare, all that free education, and to build. Because in Libya, the slogan, it was more than the slogan. The saying was, the occupant of the house must be the owner of the house. Because the house is a home is a human right. A house is a human right. And in the Libyan economy, and they did it in Iraq, in the Libyan economy, you could not leave housing to the forces of the market. So the state built homes, okay? And people, they built the homes for you, and people repaid little, and you paid based on your earnings. You understand? So they had no landlord to come and kick you out.
Mm. Mm.
And then the thing about it is you had Libyans who built many homes. Good. So you will find a Libyan who had 6 homes, 6 houses, but he couldn't rent it out. If you rent it out, you will rent it to some foreigner working in the country. Because if a Libyan had moved into that house, you couldn't get them out.
Wow.
What? So they had that. So this freed up the liberation of your needs. Because as Gaddafi said in the Green Book, if someone controls your need, then you will be a slave. So they spoke of the liberation of needs. So healthcare is a human right, not a commodity.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Education is a human right, not a commodity to be bought and sold.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Mm-hmm.
And you have 38 million people in America, you wage a war, who are in poverty.
Mm-hmm.
Good.
Mm-hmm.
And there was no one in Libya went hungry. I mean, I am not a lover, a fan of the Gulf states, but the Gulf states, you don't got Qatar in those places. You got anybody walking the streets hungry. In
Yes.
Libya, the only time you would be hungry is if you were fasting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
All
during Ramadan.
essential items were subsidized because what was the command? The dignity of the human person. People before profit. Yes,
Mm-hmm.
you use profit to measure the performance of an economy. Yes, you use profit as a yardstick to measure, but you do not put the accumulation of wealth and profit in front of the human person.
Mm-hmm.
You don't.
Mm-hmm. 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 Which all societies are doing at the moment.
And that is what capitalism is about.
Yeah, but I think our people are also conditioned, you know. So you see a lot of people on YouTube, on TikTok, particularly on YouTube, who are telling us of the, you know, what the prime ministers and the members of government, the mansions they own, you know, what they value in terms of money, and they think that that is wonderful. They think that the fact that their prime minister is living in a mansion or, you know, drives a nice car and is valued at millions of dollars suggests that the country is prosperous.
Yeah, well, I don't agree with that. Look at what, you look at leadership is about sacrifice.
Mm-hmm.
The leader, before I get to certain contemporary, I look at some of the leaders that we know of and admire.
Yes.
Look at some of the greatest figures that walk this earth. Jesus was of what you would call, to use a contemporary Marxist sociological term, of the proletariat. He was a carpenter.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, was a trader. He used to guide camels, taking goods across from region to region. Peter was a fisherman. I think the only body had, if you want to say some sort of sophisticated, was Matthew the tax collector.
Mm-hmm.
Good. What I'm saying is this. Leadership is about sacrifice. I do not believe that when you are leading a country, if you're the prime minister and a president, you should be accumulating wealth. I do not agree with that. Julius Nyerere rode a bike to work, and people would be waving at him in the street. There was a great prime minister from Sweden who was socialist, social democrat, Olof Palme, that was assassinated. You remember?
Mm-hmm.
He was going home from the cinema, he and his wife, and he was shot. And he opposed the Vietnam War, and there's enough evidence to prove that the CIA was behind his assassination.
Mm-hmm.
What I'm saying is, I've always I've always argued this. If you want money, if you're obsessed with making money and the accumulation of wealth, go into business.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But don't go into politics to enrich yourself.
Isn't Xi Jinping, the president of China, a multi-millionaire?
No,
He's not.
No. I see someone is saying China has a market, but still mainly definitely not. Control. One of the mistakes a lot of we've always said that's the Eastern Bloc countries made.
Mm-hmm.
And some Marxists, not all. And the Chinese learned. The Chinese did avoid that mistake when Deng Xiaoping came in and carried out the reforms after Mao Zedong. The market is not synonymous with capitalism.
Mm.
the market predated capitalism. You had, long before capitalism emerged as a social and economic formation, you had the market. And in the market, they used to sell people. They used to sell people. So nothing is wrong with the market. But the problem is when you leave the market by itself. Because history has shown us that when you leave the market to itself, it regulates to the few. So those who talk about a free market, as we said, there is no free market because the state has to play a role. It's the same way that you have a game cricket match, you need an umpire. You have a football match, you need a referee. You can't say, well, we'll do away with the referee and umpire and we will just play and I will kick you and there's no one to say foul or no one to say you're out. You see what I mean?
Yes.
Good.
Yes.
So there is a role for the state, but the state does not necessarily have to control from the largest factory to the baker shop around the corner. No. The state can plan and do the economic planning so that we can reach the goal, so that we can eliminate poverty, so that we can reduce wealth, narrow income inequalities, and all of this.
Yeah, I'm on this platform here, Mr. Perreira. It says that Xi Jinping, that is a, what do you call it, networktick.com. It says that Xi Jinping net worth in 2026. Quick answer, estimates for Xi Jinping net worth vary widely because his personal finances are not publicly disclosed. Most credible sources say his official personal wealth is modest, around 1 million, plus from salary and reported assets. What do you say about that? Because a lot of times too in these countries, they are not as transparent too, and we really don't know what they have.
Listen, a retired president, okay? A retired president in Guyana, he gets a sum of money, not like when he was president, a good sum.
Correct.
He gets this and that. He gets allowance of telephone security, all of that. So if you were just a president, a former president, I'm just talking about a former president and your wife.
Yes.
And it's just the two of you. You will end up having a certain amount of money in 2 years as compared with me or anybody. So I don't know what they mean by which president is not going to have something in the bank. But if you're talking about billions and have a lot, I don't believe that. I won't go. I don't buy that because there's a lot of...
We're just looking at their modest salaries. A lot of times they present to us, even Andrew Holness of Jamaica, that their salaries are very minimal. But yet still, when you look at what they have accrued, the houses they live in and their personal net worth, it doesn't add up in terms of the salaries that they say they're doing. If the job requires a lot of time, there's no time to work in private business, how did you achieve so much money? And that is the whole question.
Well, that is it. Because there's so many sources you can get, through backdoor deals or else other thing, Now you've mentioned that, during President Burnham's time, Burnham brought in a thing in Guyana called the Declaration of Sapphire. And all ministers had to declare their assets. You had to declare what you have every year.
Yes.
And if you were a minister, you were only allowed to own one property, and that's the property that you were living in.
Wow.
Good.
Wow.
So some people believe, well, look, I can maybe buy a property and put it in my daughter's name or son's name, but they had a clause there that by extension, your children were also members of the party. So you can buy an extra property. So if you're a minister, the only property you had was the one that you were living in. Yes. And ministers could not be involved in commercial business activities. If you want that, you have to resign and go on. This is what Burnham had. Yes. Burnham actually died leaving nothing. Right?
Yeah. Yes.
And now in Guyana, these ministers we have, they are wealthy.
They're extremely wealthy.
They're wealthy.
Yeah.
The president, the vice president, they're wealthy.
Yeah.
They have front companies, their families, they're wealthy.
But the citizens love it too, right? As I'm saying, they love to see their prime ministers and presidents, all decked in expensive stuff, living in great homes and mansions. Don't we love that?
I, you know, I don't know. I think people, at the end of the day, I know, of course, there are those types, but I think, there is something about the human. I think when you see all of that, and then someone comes along with humility, people say, "Hey, this is how my brother." I'll share this with you. I go to places and talk, and when I talk, you know what people say? My God, you make my skin crawl, and my skin is starting.
Right. Yeah, yeah.
Because, brother, I tell you the truth from the bottom of my heart. When I all I want to see is the best for humanity.
Yes.
I don't
Yeah.
see myself, I don't dream of being a prime minister or president. If the people decide that they want me there tomorrow, I will
Yeah.
serve.
Yeah.
But I never got into this. I didn't choose this. This was thrust upon me. I believe that some of us come into this world for divine purpose.
That's powerful.
I
But
do that, and I've used my education and knowledge to help others.
you
And
know,
I have
b-
never treated anyone. I've never talked down to people. I've never made anyone feel like they're the least common denominator. I'm a revolutionary, and I believe I treat every person. I believe that you have a dignity that comes from God. You don't get that dignity from your social status or your economic position. But and the only one who is righteous or good is who is doing what is good and righteous in the eyes of God. And I
yeah.
have no instrument to determine who is better than who, or I'm better. No, I'm not.
Hmm.
I am an imperfect being trying to seek perfection,
Yeah.
or in pursuit of perfection. I am not
Yes.
a perfect being, but I seek to serve a perfect creator.
Yes, but there are others who don't. Many of our
Yeah,
presidents don't believe in God and other things and our sense of morality.
yeah,
Well, they should believe in morals in terms of stealing from the
of course.
coffers, but in terms of striving for perfection, I don't think many of them
Yeah.
desire that at all. Now, this president is saying Andrew Holness just gave himself a pay increase, making him the highest paid prime minister in CARICOM. Is
Yeah.
he though? How much? What is the salary of Dr. Irfan Ali? Isn't he a highly paid president
Yes,
too?
he's highly paid, and a lot of
Yes,
folks come with it.
yeah. Because with all of that oil and gas wealth, I would think that maybe he gets more money than Jamaica, than the Jamaican prime minister.
Certainly,
Yeah,
certainly,
yeah.
certainly.
Yeah, but we're living now in a dangerous time now, Mr. Pereira. I don't think
Certainly.
that the times in which we live now, I don't see us setting back the stage to where we once were, even before the pandemic. I think that we have far gone into an era of fascism, as you have
Yeah,
been
yeah.
stating. What do you think? How do we correct?
Well, well, it is clear that Trump, the United States empire, want to take us back to the
19th
way we were
century.
before. You
Mm-hmm,
know,
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
the period of colonialism, to
mm-hmm.
reverse all that we gained in the anti-colonial struggles. That's where we're heading,
Yeah, yeah.
and we're in for a rough ride. But
Mm-hmm.
I believe at the end of the day, based on what is shaping up, they will not succeed. They will not succeed. We in the Caribbean have this as, this is a global battle, but many
Mm-hmm.
fronts, and we have to hold down our end.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's going to get hard because I see it was only today it's reporting that Britain only has gas, I think, for 2 more days, and it's getting worse. Uh, Oil prices are going to hit $200 a barrel, and that is going to affect. It's going to affect the global economy.
Yeah.
And Iran has a simple position: if you are going to take us down, we are going to go down. We're going to take everybody down with us. You know, you're not going to destroy me and then walk away from here. And the Strait of Hormuz is almost, ships are just out there, they can't pass through. And then the Houthis are preparing to open up the other end. They have not really entered the battle fully as yet. Mm-hmm. And anyone can see that this thing is well coordinated. Mm-hmm. The resistance is well coordinated. So I think in the next few days, if for more than a week, I don't think I don't think it's the Iranians. There's already Trump and them trying to save face. They've sent a message to the Italians. I think they're trying to get the Gulf states involved, but I think they want a way out of this. But Iran say any peace deal, any treaty, or any arrangement that they arrive at will be on their terms.
Trump, as you said, and I think you said it eloquently at the beginning of the program, and Trump, I think, has said it, he doesn't want anything but full whatever he wants. He wants everything. And there is no country you can go to and say you want everything. You know, and so I think there's not going to be an agreement.
No, Yeah. I mean, look, I'll show you something. There is a man who writes a column in Guyana called, he writes under the pen name of he uses this Eyewitness.
Eyewitness, okay.
Yeah, we know who the person is. He's a staunch Indian rights activist.
Does he write for the Kaitior or the Starbrick paper?
No, he writes for the Guyana Times.
Oh, the Guyana Times, okay.
Yes. And in every column that man did, he referred to Maduro as Mad Maduro.
Wow.
But this man will never say anything he will never say lunatic Trump. Because let me tell you something. I pointed it out before. There's a group, I want to make this clear. I am not against any ethnic group. They're very progressive and militant people of Indian background who are anti-imperialists and are challenging the empire.
Absolutely.
But I am speaking about a group of Indian ethnic supremacists who have said nothing about the genocide in Gaza. They've not said anything about Trump. They're backing Kamala. And you know what? What they're happy about? Oh, the head of the FBI is an Indian, Kash Patel. Vance, Vice President Vance's wife is an Indian. So they see this as good for them.
Yeah.
We're achieving. That's how they see it. But what is interesting is they don't like Mahmoud Mamdani because he's anti-Zionist. He's anti-capitalist. So they don't like him. They rather vote for, they voted, all of them, the ones who are based in New York. It's a network of them. They're in New York, Guyana, Trinidad, and Suriname.
Yeah.
The ones who are in New York came out and they voted for the Republican, for the white Republican.
Yes.
So you see what I'm getting at?
Yes. Now, let us look at the President Jafar is making a statement, a very important one that we need to address, that the Kaimani's son was made the new Ayatollah. Trump killed his father with, and a 14 months old baby. That man wants. What do you think about the fact that they have made him the new supreme leader?
Well, it's a council that gets together and select him. He has to be, they don't understand, to be an Ayatollah, or to be the supreme leader, it's not easy. It takes you years and years of study. The Jesuit priests.
Yeah.
To be a Jesuit, you have to study theology, philosophy, and then you take a major, right? You find Jesuits who have PhD in economics and all that, and then after you get on, then you say, to be an Ayatollah, right? Moses is supreme. You have to publish some books.
Wow.
And this book or books have to bring something fresh to the table before you're approved.
Yes.
And it takes you years and years, and many of them trained at the theology in Qums, the holy city. This is scholarship. I
Yes.
have a book called Our Economics, and there is one called Our Philosophy, written by Mohammed Baqi Sadr, the great Iraqi Shia scholar who spent years of exile in Iran. And my brother, if you read this book, Our Philosophy, by Imam Baqi Sadr, whose son is Muqtasadar, one of the leaders of one of the popular mobilization brigade in Iraq.
Mm-hmm.
This book, when you read it, it critiques Marxism. He gets into dialectical materialism, historical materialism, René Descartes, Cartesian philosophy, positivism, Immanuel Kant, everything, right? When you read that, and his book on our economics, where he critiques Marxist economics, Malthusian economics, classic neoclassical economics, and this is a man who is an imam.
Mm-hmm.
It's scholarly, it's just amazing.
Mm-hmm.
But you cannot find, and the Sunnis don't like to hear this, you cannot find the Sunni equivalent.
Mm-hmm.
The Sunnis are yet to produce the equivalent to those Shia scholars.
Yes, and
So,
he
the
also
point
has.
what I'm making is to become the supreme leader. It's not easy. You have to be a scholar. You have to be not just knowledgeable about Islam, but all comparative religions and everything. So
Yes,
this
but
is an honor.
remember now that you're not dealing with a scholarly military-industrial complex. You're
No,
dealing with a complex that want to
yeah,
kill
we're dealing with
and
demons.
want to
Yeah, this is
control,
a
right?
battle.
Want
We're
to
dealing with
control.
demons. We're dealing with
So,
demons and ignoramuses.
right. So the fact of the matter, will
People who
he
have
be
contempt for scholarship and learning, knowledge.
right?
Yeah.
Will he be able to command the respect of their military there, their army,
Of
so
course.
that they
Of
can
course,
stand
they
up to
pledge
Trump? Okay.
allegiance. Yes, they do.
Yeah.
They do.
Yeah.
Because the
Yeah.
Imam, the temporary Imam,
Yes.
it is called the 12 Shias. The
Yes.
12 Shia. The 12 Shias accept that they're 11, and then they wait. There is one in occultation who the absent Imam, the awaited savior who's coming. Good. So when Trump and them want to situate this as a holy war, then we understand that, because we don't have to proclaim people like us. I always, in my philosophy, what we teach in our organization, this is our philosophy. We teach that as we fight on this physical plane, that the battle is also being waged on the spiritual, the metaphysical plane. I'm not a materialist. I believe that this battle, as we fight, it is being fought in a higher realm. That there's a battle between truth and falsehood, between the forces of light and the forces of dark.
Darkness.
So, and we have to, and God is the God of truth and justice. And it's basic. It is morally, even if you don't believe in God or acknowledge the transcendental dimension to civilization. It is wrong for one man to be accumulating endless wealth and property, and those who work for him could barely survive a bit.
It is wrong.
Even atheists know that is wrong. The communist people who are not know that's wrong. It's morally offensive.
So you think that his son will be able to stand up to the forces of the West? Okay, because not only the United States, but the forces of the West.
But they don't understand Iran. You have the Iranian, you have the army, and then you have the Islamic Revolutionary Corps.
Yes,
Then you have the Quds Force. The Quds Force is an elite force. Quds, like Jerusalem. What's called Jerusalem. You have the Quds Force.
Yeah.
And then you have the Basij militia. Those are volunteers. They numbered estimated over 1 point something to 3 million. The Basij militia is about 3 point something million.
Yes.
They're armed militias.
And their weapons, do they have?
And they have, yes.
Yes.
And the thing about Iran is they have a decentralized command system. So don't believe if you decapitate one section here, the others are confused. The Iranians were, as everybody military analysts have been pointed out, prepared for this. So if I don't hear from you within an hour or 2 hours or 10 hours, I know what to do. You see? I don't have to wait you're dying or you're wounded to say go on. So they don't understand this. So they're in for a long haul. And the United States and Israel is not going to win this war. They're not going to win.
Now, let's look at, before we end, we're coming down to the end now. The whole matter of betrayal is something that we have to study now. The United States is seeking that, and we know in world empires did not come down through defeat by an external enemy. Most of them they were destroyed from within. And most of that was through betrayal and all of that stuff. How do you think that might play out in this war against Iran?
Brother, I always start off on the premise that, human beings, we are flawed beings. We are flawed. Yeah, Sigmund Freud said he spent his whole life studying human beings, and at the end, he still don't understand.
Complex.
We can rise to such heights. We can go to high heights, or we can descend to the lowest of the low. I think I gave you that example before. I mean, you look at it. There are people, of course. There are people. I don't believe there is anything such as human nature, because we all operate differently. It's not a fix like Mr. Tucker will operate like this and Mr. Perreira will operate like this. You know what I mean? Yeah. So what I'm saying is this. You had someone like, if the Christian tradition, look at what Jesus did. He raised the dead. The lame was able to walk, the deaf hear, the blind see. And yet, we mentioned this, and yet when they had to choose between him and Barabbas, who did they pick?
They pulled Barabbas.
What did Barabbas do for them?
Nothing.
And when they had to choose between Jesus and Barabbas, even Pilate, he said, man, but this is not the king.
Yeah.
They said, no, we have no king but Caesar.
Yeah. Right.
The same Caesar that was oppressing them.
I'm happy you made that point, because that's exactly what we're doing now.
Yes.
Right? The same United States, which could be the Caesar of today, right? That oppresses us, we are siding with Caesar.
Yes, and that is why Jesus said, my kingdom is not of this world. What was he talking about?
Yes. But the U.S. is saying that this world belongs to her. Just like Rome.
This is Satan's domain.
But
this is Satan's domain.
All the world empires have been Satan's domain, right? They're all working for him. Yes.
So we will be in it, but yet not of it. We will fight in it, but we will not follow the ways of it. Because its ways are not righteous.
Yes. So
it doesn't matter whether those who want to situate this as some war between Christians and Muslims and shit, that is wrong. This battle is between all who stand for truth and justice, be they Muslim, Christian, Marxist. Good? Because we find a lot of those who are in the camp of falsehood are Muslim. Some of them, they're Muslims, they're Christians, so-called Muslim. We have that.
Yeah, but we can't deny the fact that the Western media, particularly the United States media, are pushing this narrative that this was a clerical regime, and how many times do they say that as if they're pushing a religious war? Because I've seen interviews done by people who have visited Iran, right, and they're saying that they were free, and all of this. This sort of impression that Westerners have that the women are under bondage or people, it's not true. right? It's not true. But
Yeah.
the U.S. media, particularly, they're pushing this narrative that that the Iranians, the Ayatollah, the supreme leader, was this clerical, and they're under this clerical sort of slavery or bondage, and the United States is there to free them.
You know, it's amazing. The people who push that narrative are the very people who committed colonial genocide against the indigenous people,
Absolutely.
stole people's lands, and
Yes.
up to today built their economies, their society, and the trade in enslaved Africans. And
Yes.
up to today will not even give an official apology, much less address the issue of reparations.
Yes.
And they want to tell us about the Iranians who never enslaved and never went to Africa and captured and enslaved. The Chinese never went to Africa and enslaved Africans and built the country, and so did the Russians and Slavic people. Walter Rodney made that point clearly in his book. In his book, Groundings with My Brothers. He said, when I speak of Europe, I'm speaking of the West. Because slavery, the trade in captured Africans, was a West European project.
Yes.
Colonialism, the invasion of the Americas, the colonization and genocide 50 years after Christopher Columbus and the rape of paradise, as Jan Carew, the great Guyanese scholar, called it in Historia. Millions of indigenous people were wiped out. And this was done by the Spanish, the Portuguese, the Danes,
the Dutch,
the British, the Dutch, yes, and the Americans with the colonies, the 13 colonies and on. And then, look at it. Germany, up to yesterday, I was looking at the documentary. Look at the genocide that Germany carried out against the Herero people in Namibia. And would not even address compensation and acknowledge. Look at the genocide carried out by King Leopold in Belgium. How many millions of Congolese were killed? Their hands were chopped off when they couldn't produce enough rubber.
Let's not forget,
But
though.
we don't hear about that.
Yeah, let's not forget that the Roman
They have no moral right.
Yes.
No moral right.
Yes. Let's not forget.
Us or preach to us or tell us Iran is a natural ally. And I've said this. What Iran is, Iran's fight, what Iran is doing, Iran, that is a representation. Iran is fighting. That is for let them take for what they did to everybody. For the killing of Salvador Allende.
For their sovereignty.
Bishop. Yes. For all those who fight. Yes.
Yeah, for their sovereignty. They have a right.
Right.
They have
all
a right.
Who fight for their sovereignty and right to independence. Yes.
Because we are here to say that we might not agree with everything Iran does, and neither do I agree with everything Jamaica does. But the fact of the matter is that we must respect people's rights to to be governed by however they see it fit. And the fact is that yes, we can also have the right to talk about and to critique, but not to invade them and to force them to do that which we want them to do. That's not democracy. That is not true democracy. And that is what we have to understand, and many people seem not to see that. They just think that, okay, the United States is there to free them, but to free them from what? To free them from what? When we see and we look at what is happening in the United States, that the United States citizens are not even free. So how can the United States free Iran from what?
That's right.
From their own country? I don't know.
Yeah, that's right.
Thank you so much, Mr. Perreira. I think that we are going to have to end here. With wonderful conversation. Yes, and we hope to see you again and hope that you'll be able to join us another time. Same here. Okay, yes. Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Perreira. So thank you, ladies and gentlemen. If you have any questions before you go, you can go ahead, Mr. Perreira. The Christian Zionists are the New Age crusaders of the old Europe. You're correct. I think that you're correct. I agree with you. And you're being anti-Semitic if you challenge someone brutality to children. They do all these things now. When you challenge them, they say you're this and you're that. You can never believe what they're saying. Yes. So we're going to end it now. And please make sure you like the live and you share it with as many people on the platform, and try to watch the videos I send out. Tomorrow I'll be talking about, why Mrs. Person, not Mrs. Person, but why Mia Mockley is so silent on the war on Iran. I would like to know, why is she so silent? Why doesn't she come out and talk about what needs to be talked about? And also with Cuba, the fact that, the nations in the Caribbean are now withdrawing, discontinuing the medical program. So I have a video on that tomorrow. So hope that you will check me out at 4 p.m. tomorrow Eastern Standard Time when I will publish that video. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen, for joining the live. And we hope to have another live very soon. So have a great night. See you. Ciao.